We finished treating all the Beast Girl's wounds. Thanks to our Earth first aid techniques and the ginseng, we managed to save 5 who would have died otherwise. But the cheering faded quickly, replaced by quiet crying. Their leader, a cat girl named Sylvie, lined up 15 bodies, 8 killed in battle, the rest who couldn't survive their injuries. These were their bravest warriors. Now they lay on the cold ground, some with missing limbs, blood soaking into the dirt beneath them. The camera zoomed in, and Su Yao suddenly covered her mouth. It was that little fox-ear girl. She had fiery red fox ears and a big fluffy orange tail. Just minutes ago, the drone had caught her hiding behind a tree, shaking with fear, but still throwing rocks at the beastmen trying to break through the line. She must have had a cute smile. But now her beautiful tail was soaked in blood, a metal rod through her chest, her eyes closed forever. I sighed and patted Su Yao's back. My chest felt tight too. This is how this world works, I said. The strong eat the weak. Nobody is truly safe. On screen, Sylvie knelt before the bodies and gently closed the fox girl's eyes, smoothing her messy hair. All the beast girls gathered in a circle, heads bowed, letting out a low, mournful sound, like an ancient farewell song. There was no drawn-out mourning. On this dangerous planet, grief is a luxury. Sylvie stood up, eyes hard again. She waved her hand, and they piled dry wood and animal fat around the bodies and lit it all on fire. Suli asked why they burned the dead instead of burying them. I shook my head. This is a prehistoric jungle full of predators with sharp noses. Buried bodies would be dug up and eaten before morning. Cremation is the cleanest way to return them to nature. We watched the flames in silence. The ceremony lasted only minutes. Before the fire even died down, Sylvie ordered it put out and commanded the entire tribe to migrate. She knew they couldn't stay. The smell of blood would attract more trouble, and if the beastmen's escaped mounts made it back, a revenge attack could follow. Their cave of several years was no longer safe. Their speed impressed me. The beast girls rushed inside and packed everything: hides, dried meat, polished stone tools, straw sleeping mats. Sylvie stood where the tribe's stone totem had been, pressed her spatial bracelet, and a blue light swept over the 3-meter-tall black stone tablet, making it vanish into the bracelet. My eyes lit up. I couldn't hide how badly I wanted one of those things. She stored the ginseng and medicines the same way. But then something surprised me. After the totem and ginseng, she stopped using the bracelet. Heavy smoked meat, hide tents, and stone axes were all carried out by hand and loaded onto tamed dinosaur mounts and giant dodo birds. The remaining dozen or so dinosaurs groaned under the weight, stumbling along. The beast girls themselves bent under heavy packs. Su Yao guessed the bracelet was full, and I agreed. Either its capacity was limited, or it had some usage restriction, maybe a set number of uses, or it consumed some kind of energy. Either way, it cooled my excitement a little. Not some bottomless magic bag after all. Half an hour later, a massive caravan set off. Over 230 beast girls, carrying the wounded, herding dinosaurs and dodos, loaded down with supplies, leaving the home they'd known for years. Sylvie walked at the front, stone axe in one hand, the pineapple phone held high in the other, still looping our first aid video, its glowing screen like an eternal torch guiding them forward. Their march was smart. Rearguard warriors dragged huge branches to sweep away footprints and scattered some white powder to mask their scent. They even left false trails in different directions to throw off any pursuing beastmen. Professional-level counter-tracking. The drone followed from high above. They didn't go far. After a wide loop, they reached a hidden cave entrance in rugged terrain, easy to defend with only one narrow way in. Inside was a dry, spacious natural cavern, perfect as a temporary shelter. Then I checked the tablet's live map and grinned. Their new home was closer to us, under 50 kilometers in a straight line from our rocky beach. At full sprint, the beast girls could probably cover it in about half an hour. Suli laughed. Is this what they call a mutual approach? Absolutely, my mood soared. At this distance, going to collect protection fees, dropping by for a visit, will be so much easier. By then it was getting dark. The drone's battery warning started flashing red, under 35%. I told Su Yao to bring it back. We only had 2 drones left. We couldn't afford to lose this one. She guided it down for one last circle above the new cave, a final farewell. Inside the new cave, Sylvie was directing her people to unload supplies when the drone circled back one last time. She walked to the cave entrance alone. She could tell the divine bird was leaving. She held up the phone, offering it back, but the drone just backed away, as if saying, "Keep it. It's yours." Then it turned, its red tail light glowing, and vanished into the forest like a shooting star. Sylvie stood there with wet eyes, bowing deeply toward where the drone disappeared. Then she shouted something into the sky, a string of strange, musical syllables, completely different from the rough beastman language. Each sound felt ancient and sacred, like singing. It was apparently some kind of old holy language from this planet's ruins. Suyao scratched her head. It was too far away. What did she say? I shrugged. Couldn't hear it clearly, but it definitely wasn't the beastman language from before. Suli looked thoughtful. It sounded really advanced. Just catching a few sounds, I got this image of stars falling from the sky, flashing through my mind. I stretched and yawned. Who cares what she was mumbling? The drone's on its way back automatically, and we need to deal with dinner first. Right on cue, Su Yao's stomach growled. She looked at me pitifully. I've been hungry forever. Watching them fight made me hungry. I rubbed my own belly and laughed. All right, let's eat. Today's a good day, no smoked meat. We're eating fresh. I grabbed the dragon fong blade and headed to our farm. Right in the center, thick corn cobs hung from their stalks. I picked the fattest stalk and chopped it down. 3 massive golden corn cobs crashed to the ground, each one enormous. When I peeled back the husk, every kernel was plump and golden like jewels. A light squeeze and milky juice burst out. These are insane, I said. 1 per person, and you'd better finish it. I also grabbed a tomato the size of a basketball, so red it was almost black. Tonight's menu: roasted corn and sugar-tossed tomatoes. An all-vegetable feast. Back in the cave, the daytime bonfire had died down to warm red embers. Suli set up a pot with river water while I skewered the giant corn cobs on branches and roasted them over the coals. Before long, a sweet, sticky corn fragrance filled the whole cave. Su Yao bit into hers, and her eyes practically turned into light bulbs. So good. It's sweet, and it bursts with juice. 100 times better than any fruit corn on earth. Suli tried hers too and got the same blissful look, her cheeks flushing with satisfaction. Watching them both so happy, I felt a real sense of accomplishment. Out here on a dangerous alien planet, we had a warm little home, a hot fresh meal, and 2 beautiful women for company. What more could I ask for? After eating and washing up, night fell. The giant planet rose outside, looming silently. But inside our cave, the light was warm and cozy. All right, bedtime, I said, stretching. My eyes drifted towards Su Li without quite meaning to. She was drying her hair. She caught my gaze, froze for a second, then blushed bright red. Without a word, she quickly looked down and walked to her little room. But she didn't close the door all the way. Su Yao bounced into my room like always, rolled into my arms, found a comfortable spot, and closed her eyes. I patted her back stiffly, my mind wandering to that half-open door next door. Minutes crawled by. Su Yao's breathing got deep and steady. She seemed completely asleep. I carefully slid my arm out from under her. She just rolled over and hugged the blanket. Didn't wake up. My heart pounding, I crept out of bed like a thief, tiptoeing out and gently closing the door behind me. The instant the door shut, Su Yao's big eyes snapped wide open in the dark, bright and completely awake. Her face was flushed, her heart racing. That sneaky guy? Definitely going to find my sister, she whispered, biting her lip. Through some kind of twin bond, she could feel her sister's nervousness and shyness, and she curled up under the covers, embarrassed but strangely excited. I pushed open Su Li's half-closed door. The room was dim, just a faint glow from the mineral light outside. Su Li was wrapped up in her blanket like a cocoon, eyes squeezed shut, too shy to look at me. You came. Her voice trembled like she might cry. Looking at this proud girl now acting like a frightened little rabbit, my heart melted. I didn't say anything. I just reached over and gently pulled the covers away from her face, revealing her gorgeous features, flushed deep red. I leaned down and kissed her. Then, like a magician, I pulled a small square box from my pocket. Su Li saw the label in the dim light and nearly launched off the bed. "Where did you get a balloon?" she squeaked, pointing at it. How could something like that possibly exist on an alien planet? I kept a straight face while opening the package. Found it in the National Supply Kit, hidden in a secret compartment at the very bottom of the first aid box. I'm absolutely sure that when Command packed this, they didn't dare tell your mother. If your mom found out about this, she'd cross the galaxy to kill me. That got a laugh out of her, and the tension eased. But then she got nervous again, glancing toward the wall separating us from her sister's room. Just keep it down, she whispered. Don't wake up Xiao Yao. That would be so embarrassing. I leaned close to her ear. Don't worry. The one who needs to be quiet is you. What did you just say? But I didn't give her a chance to argue. Sure. We had a long, heartfelt conversation. I was even inspired to compose a poem on the spot. Goose, 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 craning its neck to sing at the sky. Early morning, the three suns hadn't fully risen yet. The cave was dim, and the air had a strange, sweet smell lingering in it. I opened my eyes groggily. Last night, I'd gone a bit overboard. The cave walls provided basically zero soundproofing, and after all that built-up tension in this extreme environment, things had caught fire and burned out of control. I tried to stretch, but found myself locked in place. I looked down. Suli was curled up against my chest like a tired little cat, her usually cold and proud face peaceful and sweet in sleep. Her hair was messy across my chest, and her bare shoulder showed a few faint red marks from our long conversation last night. Then I felt something on my back. I turned my head slightly and found Su Yao clinging to me like a koala, arms and legs wrapped around me from behind, face pressed against my back. Her sleeping position was absolutely wild. I tried carefully to sit up without waking either of them, but Su Li's eyes cracked open immediately. She looked at me, then seemed to remember a certain poem from last night, and her face turned completely red all the way to her ears. Morning. Her voice had a soft, lingering quality that made my bones go weak. I kissed her forehead gently. Want to sleep more? She shook her head and tried to get up, but her whole body was sore and weak. She shot me a look that was equal parts blame and affection. Then the koala on my back stirred. Ugh, you jerk, Su Yao mumbled, rubbing her eyes. Her hair looked like a bird's nest. When she lifted her head, Su Li quickly pretended to still be half asleep. Su Yao's cute face had two enormous dark circles under her eyes. She looked at me with pure resentment. I couldn't help laughing. Did you go mining coal last night? Or did you transform into a panda? She pouted, full of grievance. Do you even know what time it is? I wanted to sleep early too, but somebody was reciting poetry all night, and some yellow oriole bird kept singing in the cave. That brutally honest statement blew Su Li's sleeping act to pieces. Her eyelashes trembled, and she finally gave up pretending, opening her eyes. Su Yao wrinkled her nose and poked my side. Lin Bei is a jerk. You only told stories to my sister and not me. I heard everything, and it went on forever. Su Li reached out from under the blanket and took her sister's hand, looking guilty and helpless. Su Yao's anger melted instantly. She wasn't really mad, just feeling left out and a little curious about her sister's boldness. She let go of me, turned around, and buried her face in Su Li's arms. We agreed to do everything together, but you snuck off to study by yourself. Next time, don't leave me behind. Su Li hugged her sister, stroking her hair with tenderness and guilt. I'm sorry, that was selfish of me. It won't happen again. The sisters cuddled for a bit and smoothed things over. I took that as my cue to jump up. At times like these, less talking and more working was the way to go. After washing up, we sat around the stone stools for breakfast. Crispy wild boar jerky with fresh giant tomato, tangy and refreshing. Su Li and I were practically glowing, looking refreshed and radiant. Su Yao, meanwhile, was yawning nonstop despite eating enthusiastically. I quietly put the biggest piece of meat from my bowl into hers. Eat up, nourish your brain, your body. Thanks, Lin Bei. She lit up instantly, dark circles forgotten. After breakfast, I checked the portal. The light screen was a reassuring green, counting down at 11 minutes and 5 seconds. Enough time for a proper trip back to Earth. Su Li brought me warm water. When are you planning to go back? Not yet, I said. A chance to return is too rare to waste on just checking in or grabbing a few supplies. If I don't get that spatial bracelet first, I'm not going back. With it, I could bring way more supplies next time and carry back anything you two want from home. Su Li's eyes sparkled with hope. Even though being with me made this alien planet feel like home, there were still things on Earth hard to let go of. I called Su Yao over to work. Despite being exhausted, the moment she heard drone, she perked right up. Copy that. Ace pilot Su Yao requesting launch clearance. She pulled up the military tablet. Both remaining drones had fully charged overnight. First, routine patrol. The drone climbed to 500 meters and swept along the scorched forest perimeter, focusing on the direction the Beastman cavalry had come from. The ancient forest was still lush and calm. A few plant-eating dinosaurs, 20 or 30 meters tall, wandered the edges, but no sign of any large-scale movement. No green big guys. No six-legged beasts. All clear, Su Yao reported. We all breathed easier. The escaped mounts from yesterday hadn't brought reinforcements, at least not yet. As long as those ugly brutes haven't shown up, we're safe, I said. Now let's check on the Beast Girl's new home. Su Yao steered the drone toward their cave, dozens of kilometers away. I wonder if the pretty lady figured out how to use the phone, she said. If she accidentally closed the video, she's probably crying right now. Shouldn't happen. I set it to never lock. As long as there's battery, it'll keep playing, I said with a smile. But when the drone reached the Beast Girl's new cave and zoomed in, the smiles froze on all three of our faces. Then we just stared in total confusion. What? What are they doing? Su Li's eyes went wide. I'd expected to see them settling in, hunting, managing their dinosaurs. Instead, every single Beast Girl was gathered around a large boulder outside the cave. Their heads hung low, ears drooping, tails tucked between their legs, faces full of fear and anxiety. In front of the sacred Blackstone tablet, their leader Sylvie was kneeling. She wasn't wearing her chief's hide cloak. Her upper body was bare, her pale, graceful back exposed to the air. She held the phone above her head with both hands. The pineapple phone I'd given her yesterday, but the screen was completely black and dead. No matter how high she held it, it wouldn't light up. Behind Sylvie stood two cat-ear girls, crying as they carried out some kind of punishment. With each crack of the whip against Sylvie's back, the two girls cried even harder, as if every strike hurt them more than it hurt their leader. Sylvie's face was filled with guilt and the look of someone trying to atone for a terrible sin. Sylvie's pale back was covered in shocking whip marks. Su Yao couldn't believe it. She's being punished? How dare they punish their own leader? She's punishing herself, I said, putting it together as I looked at the dead phone screen. The phone ran out of battery. We set it to loop all night, so of course it died. She thinks she broke the sacred relic the gods gave her. The holy light went out. So she's doing some kind of ancient atonement ritual. Su Li shook her head, half amused, half exasperated. She's way too honest about this. Watching her kneel there and take lashes on screen, I felt a strange mix of wanting to laugh and feeling bad. Well, more like feeling wasteful. That perfect back should be getting cupping therapy, not whip scars. What a shame. We need to stop this right now, I decided. I was still thinking about how to trick her into coming over, but forget that plan. She's deep in guilt and panic. If the divine messenger shows up and waves her over, she'll follow without a second thought. Su Yao, land that drone right in her face. And don't point the camera at the white stuff. Roger. On screen, Sylvie was near her breaking point. She was biting down hard through the pain, but it was the fear in her heart that really tortured her. She'd stayed up all night guarding the phone, watching the glowing screen, too scared to sleep. Then this morning when the sun rose, it just went black. She tried everything, pressing the button, even offering it the best dried meat. Nothing worked. The two little cat girls whipping her were crying so hard they could barely stand. Leader, please stop. We can't keep hitting you. Continue. Sylvie's voice was iron. This is my sin. If we don't calm the god's anger, the Cloud Veil tribe has no future. Then the drone's hum filled the air above her. Sylvie looked up, ignoring the burning pain in her back. The drone hovered in front of her, its indicator light staring down like a cold, judging eye. She panicked, grabbed a hide to cover herself, afraid her lowly body would offend the divine messenger's eyes, then held up the dead phone and pressed her face to the ground. I'm guilty. I broke the sacred tablet. Please punish me, not my people. Oh, this is too sad, Su Yao said, unable to watch anymore. I told her to shake the drone side to side, like it was saying no. Then tilt it forward in a nod, turn around, Fly out a short distance, stop, and look back. The message was obvious. Follow me, stop wasting time. Sylvie looked up, confused, tears still on her face. The drone flew back, circled her once, then headed out again, stopping to wait. Even she couldn't miss it this time. The god wants me to follow. The messenger hadn't abandoned her. It had come to guide her to redemption. She barked at her two crying executioners to stand down, clutched the phone to her chest, and shouted to her tribe, "I'm going to meet the pioneer," to beg forgiveness. Then she took off running. Under the blazing suns, a silver-white figure sprinted through the recovering scorched forest, weaving between fresh green sprouts, pushing up through the ash. She was incredibly fast. Rough terrain meant nothing to her. Like a tireless leopard cat chasing the drone across the sky. 50 kilometers was just a warm-up for someone with her physical abilities. 40 minutes later, she crested a low blackened hill, and the scenery changed. Her sharp eyes spotted a strange oasis about 500 meters ahead. Giant solar panels reflected sunlight like mirrors dropped by the gods. At the cave entrance, a black gun turret rotated endlessly, blinking red, radiating a dangerous aura that made her hair stand on end. It was my farm. The wildly overgrown corn and tomato fields stood out against the rocky wasteland. "Is that where the divine bird lives?" she whispered, slowing down, eyeing the enormous fruits with confusion. In 120 years of jungle life, she'd never seen plants like these. The drone stopped at the edge of the green zone, waiting for her. Sylvie took a deep breath, smoothed her messy fur, held the phone solemnly, and walked forward. But the moment she crossed within 200 meters of the farmland, an invisible, terrifying force hit her. She started coughing violently. Her nose felt like someone had shoved burning coals inside it. Her throat caught fire, and a suffocating burn raced down into her lungs. She nearly died on the spot. Then her eyes, her sharp, golden-capped pupils burned like they'd been splashed with acid. Tears poured out uncontrollably. Poison gas? She almost retreated on instinct. But then she stopped herself. She looked at the lush oasis ahead, then down at the dead phone in her hands, and a thought clicked into place. This wasn't poison. This was a barrier set by the pioneer, a trial she had to pass. I broke the sacred relic. This is my punishment. I must endure this pain to earn forgiveness. Her gorgeous face set into a look of absolute determination. She didn't step back. Instead, she closed her eyes, held her breath, and pushed forward step by agonizing step through the burning air. What she was walking through was my mutant pepper defense line. After days of growth, the peppers had fully ripened. Some had already fallen and rotted on the ground, releasing massive concentrations of capsaicin into the air, creating a natural barrier that could stop even a beast girl in her tracks. Every step was torture for her. Sylvie pushed through the pepper barrier step by agonizing step. Snot and tears covered her face. Her skin turned bright red, and the whip wounds on her back stung like they'd been salted. But she didn't make a single sound. Finally, she made it through the worst of it. The burning smell faded, and she stumbled out, gasping for fresh air. The first thing she saw was two yellowish figures pulling weeds in the field. Ginseng spirits? Even dizzy and half-blind, her beast girl instincts kicked in. The two ginseng spirits looked up, saw this red-skinned, wild-haired demon charging at them, and their little red flowers stood straight up in terror. They'd seen with their own eyes how creatures with ears and tails ate their kind like radishes. They let out pig-like screams and scrambled into the cave. Sylvie reached out, trying to explain she meant no harm, but her body was done. The pepper assault, the 50-kilometer sprint, the stress. Her vision went black, and she dropped face-first next to some cabbages. The strongest fighter we'd ever encountered, taken out by vegetables. Inside the cave, the three of us stared at the screen in silence. The two ginseng spirits came running in, grabbed my legs, and pointed outside, tattling on the unconscious intruder. I kicked them both off. We looked at each other. She's down. Just like that, we'd imagined so many scenarios for this meeting. A grand divine revelation, maybe a negotiation between equals. We'd even prepared guns in case she got hostile. But nobody imagined she'd be knocked out by a ring of chili peppers. Suyao scratched her arm sympathetically. Are our peppers maybe a little too extreme? She looks like she's about to be cooked. Suli frowned with concern. Beast girls probably have super sensitive noses. Mutant peppers must be like a gas chamber to them. I couldn't help grinning. I had this whole elaborate God act script ready. Divine light, stern speeches. Turns out the pepper wall works better than firearms. I waved at the girls. Grab rope. The strongest kind we have. While this cat lady is still unconscious, we tie her up. A fighter at her level could beat all three of us with one hand if she wakes up angry. I grabbed the rifle and led us outside. As the old saying goes, secure your advantage first. Talk politely later. I checked the turret at the entrance first, making sure it was off. Didn't want to accidentally blast our hard-earned cat girl in half. Sylvie lay quietly by the cabbages, still unconsciously crying from the pepper exposure. Her refined face was flushed and tear-streaked, somehow beautifully pitiful. And her body, after the sprint and the self-punishment, she was barely covered, just strips of hide wrapping the essentials. Athletic abs, long powerful legs, everything gleaming white in the sunlight. I swallowed hard and forced my mind to focus. Let's go. I handed the rifle to Sue Lee for cover and flipped Sylvie onto her stomach. I didn't use normal knots. Instead, I used a special tactical binding technique I'd learned online, supposedly impossible to escape from. It was very secure, limited her ability to use strength, and the visual effect was quite something. The ropes highlighted her already impressive figure in ways that were hard to ignore. Done, I wiped sweat off my forehead, admiring my work. Like wrapping a Christmas present. Sully stared at me, cheeks pink. Where exactly did you learn to tie people up like that? It looks not very professional. Tactical restraint, I said with a straight face. Special forces use it on high-risk prisoners. Looks a little weird, sure, but it absolutely works. The more she struggles, the tighter it gets. The three of us gathered around her like scientists studying an alien specimen. So this is a real cat girl, Sully whispered. Her features are more defined than ours. Her skin looks airbrushed, and except for the ears and tail, there's not a single visible hair anywhere else. Su Yao crouched down and squeezed Sylvie's fluffy white cat ears. They're warm and soft. They're real. She got bolder. Then her eyes drifted down to Sylvie's chest, still impressively prominent even while bound. Are those real too? They're huge. She looked down at her own respectable size, then back at Sylvie's, clearly a bit competitive. She reached out to poke and verify. Su Yao, where are you touching? I looked up from examining Sylvie's fluffy tail for hidden weapons. I think I felt something hidden in there. But Lin Bei, you're touching stuff too. She actually did fish something out, the dead phone and a metal ring. The ring was faintly pulsing with blue light. The bracelet. She hid it in her chest. She must know it's the most important thing she owns. My eyes locked onto it. The spatial bracelet I'd been dreaming about. Why is it glowing? Let me see. It felt cold and was made of some unknown material. I tried touching the surface like I'd seen Sylvie do on screen, pressing my fingerprint into it. Nothing happened, just the same steady blue blinking. Su Yao tried. Nothing. Su Li tried. Nothing. Must have some kind of biolock or special activation method. I sighed, slipping the silver bracelet onto my own wrist. We'll figure it out when our cat wakes up and we interrogate her properly. I told Su Li to stand guard with the rifle, and Su Yao helped me. Carry Sylvie to the cave entrance so she wouldn't catch cold lying in the field. Lift, I heaved with everything I had, expecting my enhanced strength to handle it easily. Instead, my whole body lurched downward, and I nearly threw out my back. She's insanely heavy. She looked tall but proportional, no bulging muscles anywhere. But trying to move her was like lifting a solid iron block. Between the two of us, we could barely manage. She's got to weigh at least 400 kilos. Su Yao was grimacing with effort. Is this lady made of metal? We huffed and dragged her to the cave entrance, propping her up against the rock wall. Before I could even catch my breath, Su Li pointed at my wrist. Lin Bei, your hand. I looked down. The silver bracelet was glowing at least twice as bright as before, and the blinking was getting faster, like it was reacting to something. What the? I stepped back. The light dimmed a little. Stepped forward, it brightened again. It's responding to something nearby. A flash of inspiration hit me. I turned toward a raised patch of ground just left of the cave entrance. That's where we'd buried the mysterious metal cube we'd found in the scorched forest. The cube, my heart pounding, I rushed over and dug through the dirt with my bare hands. The metal cube with its intricate hollow patterns emerged from the soil. I crouched by the little hole I'd dug, holding the metal cube covered in hollow patterns. The bracelet on my wrist was blazing with blue light, flashing like crazy, and the cube was vibrating in my hands like it wanted to connect to something. I tried everything. Traced the patterns with my fingers, twisted it like a Rubik's cube, rubbed the bracelet against it. Nothing. No hologram. No transformation. Just a glowing rock. Open sesame. Summon the dragon. I yelled at it. Nothing. After a few minutes I gave up. Earth brains weren't cracking alien security systems today. I glanced at Sylvie, still passed out by the cave entrance. When she wakes up, she should know how this thing works. She's a native and a chief. I dusted off my hands. Might as well keep busy. We decided to make the cave a proper long-term home, so the three of us became renovation workers. I drew a floor plan in the dirt with a stick. The front half of our oval-shaped cave had the portal and the bonfire, too smoky for living. So that would be the work area, kitchen, and storage. The back half was temperature-stable, quiet, and close to the underground river, perfect for our living space. We'd tear down the separate rooms and keep just one shared bedroom. Su Li and Su Yao exchanged a glance, both blushing a little. Neither of your private rooms ever got used anyway, I pointed out. Especially yours, Su Yao, still brand new. Su Yao raised her hand excitedly. I want floor tiles. The ground is so uneven I keep twisting my ankle. Approved. I went outside to pick flat, evenly thick stone slabs from the rocky beach. The two ginseng spirits had been slacking off inside, so I kicked them out and put a 20-pound rock slab on the bigger one's head, tying it down with its own root hair. Carry that inside. You get milk candy when you're done. The promise of candy turned them into enthusiastic little laborers, trotting on their stubby radish legs. The bigger one even got brave enough to sneak a root whip across sleeping Sylvie's head with a crisp little smack. It hadn't forgotten that one of its 8-year-old friends had been bitten in half by creatures like her. Inside, the sisters laid the stone slabs I sent in, filling the gaps with fine sand, working toward a smooth floor. Sylvie stayed tied up at the cave entrance, head drooping to one side, silver hair covering half her face. She looked like a damaged action figure, not waking up anytime soon. 3 hours flew by. The living area finally had a clean layer of gray stone flooring, starting to feel like a real home. We sat down to rest and eat. Then, a piercing ginseng scream from outside. 2 yellow blurs came tumbling in and dove behind me, shaking violently. She's awake, I snapped to attention. Su Li, grab the gun. Let's go. Su Li dropped her canned food, snatched the rifle off the wall, flicked off the safety, smooth and quick. Su Yao was still holding a freshly heated dodo bird leg covered in cumin and chili powder. She refused to put it down and just brought it along. Before heading out, I placed the drones on top of my head and Su Yao's head like little crowns. Had to make an impression. Outside, Sylvie was struggling to focus through a splitting headache and a throat that felt like charcoal. She tried to rub her eyes but couldn't move, then looked down and saw the bizarre binding job keeping her completely locked up, the ropes digging in and making her figure look even more exaggerated than usual. Still being tested? She seemed to wonder. Then 3 figures stepped into view, blocking the sunlight. The small man and one of the girls each had a 4-winged, divine bird, perched on their head, blinking red and green lights like holy halos. The other girl, identical to the first, held a strange black metal stick pointed right at her. Sylvie's fur stood on end. She recognized this danger. Same feeling as when that red dot had aimed at her chest before. Her eyes swept over us. No fur, smooth skin, strange but fine clothing. Features similar to hers but softer. Her mind clicked. We looked exactly like the race shown on the sacred stone tablet. The ones who supposedly created this world and then abandoned it. The pioneers. She stopped struggling and tried to kneel, but the ropes were too tight. She could only press her back to the wall, lower her head as humbly as possible, and pour out a rapid stream of words, basically begging for forgiveness, calling herself a lowly sinner, offering to accept any punishment. The 3 of us just looked at each other blankly. What's she saying? Su Yao asked through a mouthful of bird leg. Is she mad we tied her up? No idea. I shook my head. Total gibberish. Can't communicate at all. Language barrier. Our biggest problem right now. Sylvie realized it too. Seeing our confused faces, she panicked even more. The great pioneers couldn't understand lowly beast language. And she didn't know their noble tongue either. Just a few prayer phrases. The awkwardness was painful. Calm down, I said, waving my hand for her to stop. She shut her mouth instantly and watched me obediently, eyes full of hope. Then a thunderous growl erupted from her stomach. Her face turned red with embarrassment. But she was starving. 50-kilometer sprint, pepper knockout, hours unconscious. When she caught the smell of the cumin-covered bird leg in Su Yao's hand, she couldn't stop drooling. Hungry, I read the situation. Su Yao, give her your bird leg. Su Yao looked sadly at her delicious snack, but walked over anyway. She crouched in front of Sylvie and held the massive dodo leg up to her mouth. Here you go, big kitty. You can eat it, but don't bite my hand, okay? Here you go, big kitty. Don't bite my hand, okay? Sylvie looked stunned, like she couldn't believe she was being offered food by divine beings. She opened her mouth carefully and bit off a piece. She'd never had chili before, so the heat shocked her, but then the flavors hit. For someone who'd only ever eaten raw or simple roasted food, Earth-seasoned cooking was on another level entirely. She devoured the entire giant bird leg in seconds. Meat, bone, everything crunched down. Then she licked the chili powder off her lips with a little pink tongue covered in tiny soft barbs. All right, she's fed. Time for business. I put the show-off drones back inside the cave and brought out the metal cube. I crouched in front of Sylvie, held up both the glowing bracelet on my wrist and the cube, and pointed between them. Hey, big cat, do you recognize this? Her eyes locked onto the bracelet first. Of course she recognized it. Then her gaze shifted to the cube, and her cat pupils went wide. She stopped breathing. She started trembling with excitement, babbling desperately. Then she stretched her neck forward, opened her mouth, and stuck out her wet pink tongue, reaching toward the cube with this weirdly ceremonial licking motion. I yanked my hand back so fast I almost dropped the thing. What are you doing? Looking at this gorgeous cat girl with her barbed tongue inches from my hand, those big, watery eyes staring up, and then glancing at Su Li frowning beside me, and Su Yao watching with pure curiosity. The whole scene was way too easy to misread. My mind raced through a dozen inappropriate thoughts before Su Li smacked me back to reality. She's not looking at you, idiot. She's looking at the cube. Maybe the activation method literally requires licking it. Like DNA authentication, blood recognition, saliva, that kind of thing. It's in every sci-fi novel. She was right. Sylvie was whimpering and straining toward the cube, tongue still out, desperate for one lick. But I wasn't about to hand over my golden ticket. This is mine. Put your tongue away. I pushed her big head back and turned to the girls. Block her view. If this doesn't work, I'll let the cat try. But I'm going first. I hid behind them, facing away from Sylvie, stared at the cold metal cube, and steeled myself. This is for the cheat code. I stuck my tongue out and gave it one quick lick across those intricate patterns. It tasted like pig urine mixed with cold metal. But the instant my saliva touched the surface, it was absorbed. Then the cube exploded with light. A blinding blue beam shot straight up into the sky. The cube ripped free from my hands and floated in midair. Its hollow metal lines began spinning and rearranging themselves with beautiful mechanical clicking sounds. A glowing orb appeared. Then a cheerful, childlike voice rang directly inside my head, in some language I'd never heard, but somehow understood perfectly. Did you say? Toddler version? I muttered, confused. The floating orb seemed to pause, flickering twice. Apparently, it hadn't expected someone with 99.99% pure pioneer genetics to be completely illiterate in the mother tongue. A soft blue fan of light swept over my head, scanning my brain to check if something was wrong. My mind felt cool for a second, like knowledge washing through without sticking. No pain, just sudden crystal clear thinking. In less than a second, unknown language detected. Scanning language center. Analysis complete. Target language, Galaxy ZYP 1129, Earth, Mandarin Chinese. Language pack loaded. The orb spoke again, this time in perfect, broadcaster-quality Mandarin. Early Childhood Language Learning Terminal, Pioneer Model, Kindergarten Edition, activated. Identity confirmed. Citizen has not yet learned Pioneer language. Pioneer language has a forced comprehension feature, but since there is a 0.0000001% chance of brain damage to infants, this feature has been automatically disabled per the First-Class Citizen Protection Act. Your safety comes first. Oh my, a newly born first-class citizen stranded in the countryside. No wonder you can't understand anything, you poor little thing. But don't worry, Little fairy has already learned your dialect. Hello there, little friend. I'm your language teacher, little fairy. I stood there speechless. This thing learned Chinese in 1 second. You are located at Nursery CB 12. Environment, moderately harsh. Local small beasts and foreign wild beasts detected. Please stay safe. Downloading essential local language packs. Low beast language and pioneer language. Download complete. Begin transfer. Being called, little friend, stung a bit, but I wasn't about to complain. Do it. Behind me, Sylvie's eyes were the size of dinner plates, staring at the floating hologram. She was shaking violently, not from fear this time, but from pure, overwhelming joy. She'd only ever seen this kind of thing depicted on ancient cave paintings in the Beastman ruins. Legend said the cube had only ever fully activated like this once, millions of years ago, when the real pioneers walked this world. She felt ashamed for even thinking her lowly saliva could activate the sacred box. These three really were pioneers. The emotion was too much. Her eyes rolled back and she fainted again, this time from sheer happiness. Transfer. The moment I gave the command, the floating orb expanded and shot into my forehead as streams of light. I squeezed my eyes shut, bracing for a splitting headache. Figured alien tech would just dump data into my brain like copying files to a hard drive. But there was no pain, just a powerful feeling of weightlessness. When I opened my eyes, everything had changed. No three sons, no unconscious catgirl, no twins. I was standing in a pure white void, blindingly, impossibly white. Then the space warped and rebuilt itself around me. Floors, walls, sunlight through windows, the smell of chalk dust, and old textbooks. In a blink, I was sitting at a chipped wooden desk in my old high school classroom from Earth. Every detail was perfect. The blackboard, the podium, even the study hard, improve daily banner on the back wall. They'd even copied the graffiti I'd carved with a compass. Click, click, click. High heels on the floor. The classroom door opened, and in walked a tall female teacher. White blouse with the top button undone, tight black skirt, sheer black stockings, red-soled heels, black framed glasses, a thin pointer in her hand. My eyes nearly fell out of my head. Was this teacher even appropriate? Hello there, little friend. I'm your language teacher, little fairy. This environment was auto-generated from the deepest learning desires in your memory. My face went red. That was slander. Pure slander. So, how does this work? You tap me with that pointer, and I instantly know everything. Of course. Just kidding. She smiled and rapped the blackboard. Knowledge takes accumulation. Language takes practice. Even genetic transfer needs time to digest. Time flows independently here, completely separate from the outside world. Now sit down, open your textbook. We'll start with low beast language. A textbook thick as a brick appeared on my desk. A terrible feeling crept over me. How long will this take? Until you pass. She pushed up her glasses with a sweet smile. And little fairy does use corporal punishment for failed exams. You just described the reward. What's the punishment? She had no response to that. It was hell. Absolute hell. I thought this was a cheat code. Turned out it was a tutoring prison measured in years. The first 3 months were pure suffering. Beast language wasn't actually that hard. Small vocabulary, simple grammar, mostly deep throat growls and roars. Roar meant eat. GH meant kill. Walala meant mate with me. I spent every day screaming at the air in that classroom. Under little fairy's merciless pointer, I mastered beast language in 3 months. In the final practice exam, I could trash talk a virtual beast man with 0 communication barriers. I actually invented new insults using Earth creativity and verbally destroyed a simulated woke beast man until it died. Congratulations, you passed. Beast language course complete. She waved her hand, and the brick textbook was replaced with a thin booklet glowing with starlight, covered in symbols I couldn't read. Next, the noble pioneer language. I sighed with relief. This one's so thin, should be quick, right? Her smile turned ominous. Pioneer language is a universal rule language. Every syllable contains multidimensional information. It's not just language, it's mathematics, philosophy, art, and energy manipulation combined. This booklet is the table of contents. Of the table of contents, the nightmare began. Learning this language was harder than anything I'd ever imagined. The pronunciation was completely inhuman, sometimes requiring 3 frequency ranges at once, sometimes a single word encoding an entire logical formula. 1 year passed. I could say mama. 10 years. Basic daily conversation. 50 years. I started understanding the logical beauty behind the language. No sunrise, no sunset in that sealed classroom. Just endless studying, memorizing, testing. I broke down multiple times, wanted to smash the desk and quit. But every time, sweet little fairy would smile and swing that pointer, teaching me what real punishment felt like. 100 years. A full century. I felt like my beard had grown to the floor. My eyes had gone from youthfully stupid to weathered and deep. Finally, on the 100th year's final exam, I recited a poem praising the stars in pioneer language and scraped a passing grade. Congratulations, first-class citizen Lin Bei. You have mastered the basic fundamentals of pioneer language, enough for use on this low-level planet. Class dismissed. The classroom shattered like a mirror. Back at the cave entrance, from Su Li and Su Yao's perspective, I'd only twitched slightly and zoned out for about 1 second before snapping back. But I was gasping like I'd just surfaced from the bottom of the ocean, cold sweat soaking through my clothes. My eyes held a flicker of confusion, then deep fear, then relief. 100 years of grinding, monotonous study memories were already fading fast, like waking from an incredibly long dream that dissolves the moment your eyes open. What stayed was the knowledge burned into my bones. Pioneer language now felt as natural as my mother tongue. Beast language roaring was pure instinct. Lin Bei? What's wrong? Su Li rushed over to steady me, her face worried. You're sweating so much. Su Yao wiped my forehead. Seeing their real, living faces full of concern, the feeling of being gone for a century finally faded. I'm back. I'm finally back. I couldn't help it. I grabbed both of them and pulled them tight against me. Their warmth, the faint scent on their clothes, their confused heartbeats. All of it proved that the 100-year classroom prison was over. Su Li could barely breathe from how hard I was squeezing, but she felt me trembling and just patted my back gently instead of pushing away. I'm fine, I said, taking a deep breath. Just had a nightmare. Dreamed I was back in school. I let them go and looked at the floating orb. Its light had dimmed a lot, like a dying light bulb. I tried speaking to it in my newly learned pioneer language. Hey, little fairy, since you're an educational terminal, do you know anything about this planet? Like what the alien technology is? Or what that giant planet above us is? The orb flickered twice. Sorry, first-class citizen. This terminal is designed only for early childhood language education. No star database or creature encyclopedia installed. Please explore the local environment on your own. I sighed. Disappointing, but fair. It was like asking a children's reading pen how to build a nuclear bomb. Fine. Then teach these two as well. I pointed at Su Li and Su Yao. We'd need to deal with the Beast Girl tribe going forward, and I couldn't play translator every single time. This was a once-in-a-lifetime chance to learn 2 alien languages. Give them Beast language and Pioneer language. 2 blue scanning beams swept over the girls. They tensed but didn't dodge when they saw me nod encouragingly. Seconds later, red warning lights flashed. Warning: Pioneer gene purity, 82%. Classification: mixed/degraded genetics. Below the 90% minimum for Pioneer language study. Forced transfer may cause brain overload. Only low Beast language may be transferred. I frowned. 82%? So the portal really had been meant for me specifically. The twins just got pulled along for the ride. Any workaround? I'm a first-class citizen. Don't I get special privileges? 1 second of silence. Highest authority detected. Searching alternatives. Warning: insufficient energy for named teacher mode. Switching to subconscious self-study mode. The system will pull the most trusted, authoritative figure from each student's deep memories to serve as their virtual teacher. Note: non-standard teaching reduces efficiency by 50%. Subjective study time will exceed 200 years. Teaching style will be entirely determined by the student's subconscious perception of their teacher. Cost: after completion, this terminal will exhaust its energy and downgrade to its base physical form, a phase bracelet. Proceed, phase bracelet? I looked at the spatial bracelet on my wrist. So that's what this thing was, the cube's dead battery form. You've got no other use anyway. Becoming a bracelet is fine. As long as they learn both languages, a longer dream is a longer dream. It's only a second out here, and you forget the pain right after. I waved my hand. Do it. Use my authority. Full language package for both of them. Acknowledged. First-class citizen. Energy core unlocked. Overclocking initiated. The orb melted into liquid light, split into two streams, and flowed into the girls' foreheads. They went limp in my arms instantly, eyes closed, before either could say a word. This time seemed to take longer than mine. I could see their eyes darting rapidly under their eyelids, living through some endless dream. About 3 seconds passed. The light pulled out and gathered in the air one last time. The glow sputtered and died completely. Metal pieces clicked and rearranged. Clink. A small silver bracelet dropped into my palm, identical to the one Sylvie had brought. Done. I pocketed the bracelet and looked down at the two sleeping beauties in my arms. Hey, class is over. Wake up. Their eyelashes trembled. They opened their eyes slowly. But when they focused on my face, their expressions made my skin crawl. It wasn't the usual affection or admiration. Their eyes were filled with deep longing, resentment, and desperate attachment, like they were staring at a man who'd abandoned them for centuries, or a lover they'd spent an eternity with. The intensity of their gaze could have melted steel. What's wrong? Why are you looking at me like that? Did you get punished? Punished? Suli cut me off with a hollow laugh. Wait, who was your teacher? I asked. They both just kept staring at me, unblinking. After several long seconds, they answered in perfect unison. You. Huh. I pointed at my own nose. Me? Suyao threw her arms around my neck and burst into tears. Lin Bei, you're so mean. When I couldn't out-trash-talk the beast man in the exam, you wouldn't let me eat in the dream. When I couldn't memorize vocabulary, I wanted that bird leg so bad, and you hit my butt with the pointer. I was stunned. In Su Yao's subconscious, I was a demon tutor who starved her. Su Li's eyes were red and wet. She reached out with trembling fingers and touched my face, like she was checking if I was real. Her voice was thick with 2 centuries of bottled-up emotion. Do you have any idea? Tears rolled down her cheeks. In a classroom with just the two of us. You stood there with that pointer and taught me for 200 years. Every day, every minute, every second. It was always you. Suli touched my face, calming down, her eyes soft as water. She fixed my messy collar gently. 200 years. Most of the memories are already fading, but I learned 2 languages. And more importantly, she stood on her tiptoes and whispered in my ear. I saw my own heart clearly. She kissed the corner of my mouth. Thank you for always being patient with us. Something hit me deep. I pulled both girls into my arms. This bond had nothing to do with physical desire. It was heavier than any of that. Don't worry, I said, patting their backs. Whether it's 200 years or 2,000. As long as I'm here, you'll never be alone. We just held each other quietly, letting the echoes of those centuries wash through us until the painful study memories faded, leaving only the language skills and something warm and heavy in our hearts. After a while, Suyao slid down and rubbed her eyes. Where'd the little light ball go? It used up all its energy teaching you too, I said, showing them the silver bracelet the cube had turned into. In the learning space, I tried asking it all kinds of questions. Where's this planet? That's beyond kindergarten curriculum. Why is a day here also 24 hours? That's elementary school physics. Why were we chosen? It had 0 clue. All it could do was sing nursery rhymes and smack students. I weighed the bracelet in my hand. But trading a cube that needs some kind of vacuum 0-point energy to recharge for 2 language-fluent partners, plus a real spatial storage device? We made out like bandits. Both girls' eyes lit up at the mention of storage. Try it, try it. Suyao pulled out a half-eaten bird leg from her clothes. Hold on, need gene authentication first. I looked at the new bracelet, identical to Sylvie's. I brought it to my lips. You have to lick it again. Suli looked disgusted. Gene authentication. Licking or blood, take your pick. I licked the surface without hesitation. The bracelet hummed, and a golden glow swept across it. First-class citizen authenticated. Face space folding field, no time flow, activated. A spatial ripple spread out that only I could feel. It opened up, and I saw inside. Holy, what? Is it small? Suli asked. Even a few cubic meters would be great. A few cubic meters? I swallowed and drew a big circle with my hands. Length, width, height, all roughly 10 meters. That's 1,000 cubic meters. It's like carrying a small villa on my wrist. Both girls gasped. We could fit everything in our cave inside that. I was practically rubbing my hands raw with excitement. No living things allowed, but generators, fuel barrels, maybe even a tank someday. All possible now. Then something bugged me. Wait, if the space is this big, why did Sylvie only store the stone tablet and a few things when her tribe moved? We watched them load everything onto dinosaurs and dodo birds, struggling under the weight. Why not use the bracelet? I looked at Sylvie's bracelet on my other hand, the one Su Yao had fished out of her chest earlier, still warm from its original owner. I held it up and, without thinking, sniffed it. A faint milky scent. Pervert, Su Li muttered, face red. I kept a straight face and got to business. Licked the surface. The glow came back, but the message was different this time. High authority gene detected. Overriding original owner's permissions. Original space limit. 100 cubic meters, 10 by 10 by 1. Expanding phase space. Expansion complete. Current available space. 1,000 cubic meters. Everything clicked. I laughed out loud. She wasn't stupid. She just didn't have the clearance. Her permissions capped the space at 100 cubic meters with a 1-meter height limit. No wonder she could only fit the stone tablet and a few essentials. Everything else had to go on dinosaur back. I waved my wrist proudly. Now I'm the admin full unlock. We've got 2,000 cubic meter warehouses between these two bracelets. But that's not even the best part. I could feel my excitement building. When I bonded the bracelet, I got a key piece of information. The storage exists in a separate phase space. It overlaps with our world but doesn't interact with it. It's not tied to whichever universe we're physically in. Su Li, sharper after her 200 years of study, caught on immediately. You mean? Exactly. I snapped my fingers. Even if I go back to Earth through the portal, the bracelet storage still works. Everything inside stays put. The portal limits me to carrying only dead objects under my own body weight, but the stuff inside the bracelet doesn't count against that rule. We basically have a portable warehouse that ignores the teleportation weight limit. The three of us looked at each other, and the same thrill shone in all our eyes. The three suns were tilting west, wind blowing white ash across the ground. I told the girls to stay inside the cave. No need to march out the whole squad every time we dealt with one cat girl. I sat alone on a boulder a few steps from Sylvie, playing with two things, the dragon fong blade in my left hand, the phase bracelet on my right. I kept making the blade vanish into the bracelet and reappear, practicing the storage function. On a whim, I tried stuffing Sylvie's bracelet inside my bracelet space, nesting them like Russian dolls. But a strong repulsive force pushed back, like two magnets of the same pole. No infinite storage exploit. Too bad. I put Sylvie's bracelet on my other wrist. It shrank automatically to fit. Su Li, Su Yao, stay inside. I called without turning around. What comes next is a grown-up's judgment scene. Too many people ruins the vibe. Got it. Su Yao's sweet voice came from inside. Both girls were hiding in the shadows, peeking out. Soon, Sylvie groaned and her eyelashes fluttered open. Memories came flooding back. The burning peppers, the suffocating air, the delicious food, the arrival of the pioneers. Awake, I said coolly. She looked up. I was sitting backlit on the rock, toying with the glowing dragon fong, doing my best to radiate dangerous calm. Her heart practically stopped. She tried to bow, but couldn't move in the ropes, so she just dropped her head, too terrified to look at me directly. Time for the show. I didn't use beast language or Chinese. I shifted my vocal cords, synced my mental frequency, and spoke in pioneer language, smooth, mysterious syllables that rolled out like music. Relax, little kitty. Raise your head. Look at me. It hit her like a hammer to the soul. Pioneer language carries a natural authority. Each syllable resonates with universal laws. This was the sacred tongue that existed only in her tribe's most ancient records, used solely between pioneers. She trembled violently and forced herself to look up. Her golden eyes were swimming with tears, fear, yes, but mostly the overwhelming awe of meeting a living God. She tried to respond, but couldn't speak the language. Only a whimper came out. Satisfied with the effect, I switched seamlessly to beast language. Can you understand this, little cat? The whiplash nearly short-circuited her brain. 1 second, divine deity speaking the language of the cosmos. Next second, casually chatting in her everyday tongue. My lord, you know this lowly language. In her mind, a pioneer, a creator god, would never bother learning the language of slaves and beasts. I smiled with carefully measured arrogance. Just simple howling from lower creatures. If I wanted to, 1 second would be enough to learn it. I gave myself full marks for that performance. In reality, little fairy had beaten my palms raw for 100 years. But to Sylvie, this was proof of divine omniscience. She pressed herself as low to the ground as the ropes allowed, total submission. Good. Since we can talk, let's chat. I tapped her bare thigh lightly with the flat of the dragon fang, signaling her to relax before the ropes cut into her flesh. Name, Sylvie. Sylvie Moonshade. Position, current chief of the Cloud Veil tribe. Her expression darkened. A wandering tribe of over 200 half-beast people who escaped from the woke Beastman tribe. Half-beast people? I caught the term. That name is ugly. I don't like it. In my territory, nobody uses that word. I pointed at her ears. From now on, you're called Beast Ear Girls. Beast Ear Girls. Her cat ears twitched involuntarily. The words were a bit awkward in beast language, but somehow sounded dignified. Far better than half-beasts or deformed species. Warmth flooded her eyes. Thank you for the name, my lord. Don't thank me yet. I put the blade away and got down to business. I desperately needed intelligence about this world. Why does this world have 3 suns? And why is a day? I looked at her blank face and gave up on astrophysics immediately. Different question. Where do beast ear girls come from? Why are you all female? The light drained from her eyes. Shame and sorrow crept across her face. She bit her lip, voice low. We beast ear girls are all born from woke beast men. What? I'd had theories, but hearing it confirmed nearly knocked me off my rock. Once I'd asked all my questions, I stood up and looked down at Sylvie. Su Li Su Yao, come out. Bring the weapon and a wet towel. 2 figures slipped out of the cave. Su Li held the modified rifle, barrel casually aimed at Sylvie, finger near the trigger, playing the role of pioneer guard perfectly. Su Yao tagged along holding a damp towel. With Su Li covering me, I walked up and untied the ropes. Sylvie groaned with relief as the suffocating pressure vanished. She didn't stand. She slowly stretched her stiff body, rope marks pressed into her pale skin. But she didn't care about the pain. Instead, she did something that made even Su Yao blush. She looked at me once with those golden cat eyes, fear, awe, and gratitude all swirling together, finally settling into pure reverence. Then, without hesitation, she rolled onto her back and lay at my feet, curling her long legs up to fully expose her belly. Her cat ears drooped flat, trembling slightly, and her big tail pressed tight against her body. In the animal world, showing your most vulnerable spot means absolute trust and surrender. Please, my lord, bestow your blessing. She closed her eyes, lashes trembling, waiting. I swallowed hard. This cat girl was really testing me. I steadied myself and crouched down. I placed my right palm gently on her flat, toned stomach. The skin was smooth as silk. Moments like this called for some grand words. I dug into my language skills and had a flash of inspiration. In flowing, rhythmic pioneer language, I intoned, Vi, Wa, Wu. Sure. Translation, Soul Link, Eternal Oath. The words echoed across the rocky beach. In pioneer language, the phrase actually meant Bluetooth connected, but for impressing a primitive civilization, it was more than enough. Sylvie's whole body shuddered like lightning had struck her soul. She opened her eyes, golden pupils filled with tears and fervor. My body, my soul, my tribe, all belong to you. From this day forward, you are the Cloud Veil tribe's only faith and sovereign. Good. I pulled my hand back and stood, hands clasped behind me, looking mysterious and powerful. I accept your submission. The contract is sealed. From now on, you, Sylvie Moonshade, and all your beast ear girls are under my protection. Here, I will grant you the right to survive and the power to take your revenge. Rise. Thank you, my lord. She stood but kept herself hunched low, careful not to let her head rise above my eye level. Now came the carrot after the stick. I took off the phase bracelet I'd confiscated from her, the one from her chest, and tossed it back. She fumbled to catch it, eyes wide with disbelief. My lord? The sacred relic. I've already broken the seal on it. I'm returning it to you temporarily. The core authority still belongs to me, but you may use it to carry supplies and transport heavy loads. She held the bracelet and felt the space inside, at least 10 times bigger than before. She broke down crying with gratitude. In her mind, taking the relic back had been completely justified. But giving it back? That was unimaginable trust and generosity. Thank you, Master. Sylvie will guard it with her life. Stop, I frowned. Don't call me Master. Sounds like I'm keeping a pet. Call me my lord. Yes. Thank you. My lord. She corrected herself instantly, eyes blazing with worship. Now go home. I glanced at the pepper barrier, a biochemical death zone for beastier girls. I took the wet towel from Su Yao and handed it to Sylvie. Cover your nose and mouth when you leave. Keep your head down, run fast, and don't breathe. When you get back, organize your tribe. Tomorrow morning, bring everyone and everything here to report in. She took the towel like it was a sacred treasure. She gave me one long, deep look, bowed respectfully to Su Li and Su Yao, then pressed the towel to her face and sprinted into the pepper zone. Her eyes still streamed with tears and her skin still burned, but this time she was prepared. Her steps were quick and sure. I watched her disappear into the distance and let out a long breath. The tension finally drained away. I turned around. Su Li and Su Yao were smiling at me proudly. How was that? Did I pull off the act? I asked. Totally. You were amazing. Su Yao gave me a thumbs up. Su Li brushed the dust off my clothes gently. Mission accomplished. Spatial bracelet situation resolved too. Yeah. I took both their hands. Let's go home. Time to celebrate and hold a family meeting. Back in the cave, the portal countdown was nearly 12 minutes now, but I wasn't in a rush to go back to Earth. I wanted to settle the Beastier girls first, and I also wanted to spend some quality time with the twins and share everything I'd learned. 200 years of dream time had passed. The emotional bond from that needed real-world warmth to solidify. We cleaned the newly tiled stone floor, then all three of us piled into our cozy nest in the living area. Thick dry grass and earth-made down jackets for bedding, the warm white light overhead. I lay in the middle with Su Li on my left and Su Yao on my right. So what did you get out of the cat girl? Su Li asked, tracing circles on my chest. I dropped the smile and got serious, telling them everything Sylvie had revealed about the pioneers, the Beastman's origins, and the bracelet's history. We're not just dealing with savages. This is a Beastman empire with a clear hierarchy and possibly leftover high-tech weapons from an ancient civilization. Yesterday's raiding party was just a taste. According to Sylvie, their home base has at least 800 adult Beastmen. 800. Both girls went pale. 800 4-meter-tall monsters. Su Yao shrank into herself. We're dead, aren't we? Don't panic, I said. The bad news is that 800 was 5 years ago when Sylvie escaped. They've been conquering other tribes since then, so the real number is probably bigger. The mood got heavy. Yesterday, 50 Beastmen nearly wiped out the Beastier girls. 800 was unthinkable. But there's good news too, I added. Winter is coming. I pointed outside. Sylvie says the 3 suns are about to disappear. The planet is heading into a year-long ice age. Right now, every Beastman tribe is busy hunting and stockpiling food. They can't afford a major war. They only sent 50 cavalry yesterday because they specifically wanted to capture Sylvie and steal the spatial bracelet for food storage. Now that their whole cavalry unit is destroyed, they've taken a serious hit. Until they figure out what they're dealing with, they won't come knocking again anytime soon. That gives us precious time to grow stronger. Su Li nodded thoughtfully. So we use the ice period to build up the base and arm the Beastier girls? Exactly. I kissed her cheek. Once we have solid fortifications and enough firepower, winter becomes our home advantage. The ones freezing and starving to death will be those green-skinned freaks. Both girls relaxed, hope returning to their eyes. We chatted about future plans over dinner. Mutant cabbage soup with wild boar meat and rice. Simple stuff, but it tasted amazing with all that optimism in the air. Night deepened. The giant planet hung silently outside, while our cave stayed warm and lively. After eating and talking ourselves tired, with full bellies and warm bodies, certain thoughts started stirring. My hands began wandering. Su Li blushed and caught my roaming hand, but her eyes drifted toward the small wooden room partitions we hadn't torn down yet. It's getting late, she said, biting her lip. She pulled Su Yao up. Xiao Yao, we're sleeping together tonight. I need to talk to you about something. But I want to. Su Yao started to protest. Listen to your sister. Su Li's voice was gentle but firm. Then she shot me a look I couldn't quite decode, though my heart hammered anyway. I walked them to their room like a gentleman, then went back to my solo room. Good night. Good night, Lin Bei. The wooden door closed. I lay in bed listening to the sisters washing up and whispering, my mind racing like cats were clawing at it. That look from Su Li. Was she planning to come find me after Su Yao fell asleep? Time crawled. The lights went out. Everything went quiet. Just as I was drifting off. Creak. My door opened, barely making a sound. I snapped awake, but stayed still, peeking through half-closed eyes. A small figure slipped in barefoot, silent as a cat burglar. She wore one of my shirts, the hem barely reaching mid-thigh, showing off long pale legs. The light was dim, but I knew these sisters too well. The slightly modest chest, the careful tiptoeing walk, definitely Su Yao. I almost laughed. Scared to sleep with her sister? She made it to the bed and hesitated for a long time, like she was working up courage. Finally, she took a deep breath, lifted the blanket, and slid in like an eel. Warm, soft, fresh from bathing, she filled my arms. Su Yao, I whispered, pulling her close. Can't sleep? Did you have another nightmare? She stiffened for a second. Then she looked up. In the darkness, her big eyes sparkled with a shy, unfamiliar kind of boldness. She reached up, wrapped both arms around my neck, and pressed her burning cheek against my ear. Her warm breath tickled my ear and sent shivers down my spine. Lin Bei, she whispered, voice trembling. You got the wrong person. I'm not Yao Yao. I'm my sister. Meanwhile on Earth, things were moving fast. On a foggy morning in Beijing, a young programmer at a bus stop was scrolling through videos and noticed yet another rocket launch. 4 launches in 1 week. The comments section was going wild. People joked the country was shooting off fireworks or building moon mansions. But for ordinary folks, none of it mattered as much as this month's attendance bonus. What that programmer didn't know was that 100 meters beneath his feet sat a secret facility that didn't exist on any map. Base 305, Special Operations Command. Academician Li Yaodong sat at the head of a conference table, rubbing his throbbing temples. He'd been hiding underground for 4 straight days. His stubble had grown out, his eye sockets were sunken, and he looked years older. He slammed a classified report on the table. The 4th suborbital supply drop test had failed. Well, mostly succeeded. They'd gotten the landing accuracy down to 50 meters, but the total delivery time was still 23 minutes from launch command to impact. That was already a record in human spaceflight history. Li Yaodong exploded. Lin Bei's last portal opening had given them less than 8 minutes. The next one might only be 3. 23 minutes was useless. They needed supplies landing near him within 5 minutes of pressing the button. The research lead protested. Physics wouldn't allow it. Atmospheric friction, the plasma blackout zone, the capsule would burn up without deceleration. Unless, he had Li Yaodong hopefully, they could get 50 more kilograms of the alien mineral. That mineral again. 7 days ago, Lin Bei had carried back a pack of glowing rocks. The Science Academy had given them a humble name, rare fortune, or, meaning, once in a lifetime, lucky to have it. The lab results had shaken the foundations of Earth physics. The ore had room temperature superconductivity across a wide range, meaning chips with 0 heat loss, a dream material for quantum computers. In its normal state, the metal atoms were locked by an unknown internal magnetic field, creating an absolute rigid body harder than diamond by dozens of times, completely heat-resistant. Atmospheric friction temperatures were nothing to it. But when hit with a specific ultra-high-frequency current, the crystal locks broke and the impossibly hard metal instantly softened into a silver-gray fluid. Cold, no heat exchange at all. Cut the power, and it re-solidified into whatever shape you wanted. A shield 1 second, liquid mercury the next, solid armor again after that. A god-tier industrial material. But Li Yaodong had none left. The High Energy Physics Institute had taken 10 kilograms for fusion reactor wall experiments. The supercomputer and quantum computing teams had shown up with official red stamp documents and walked off with 20 kilos, claiming it would multiply computing power 1,000-fold within 6 months, launching them into the quantum age. What Lin Bei had carried back wasn't rocks. It was the key to the next technological revolution. But there was far too little. 1 backpack's worth, already carved up between materials science, energy, and biology departments. Not a single gram remained. Li Yaodong sighed and told the team to keep testing with existing alloys. until they knew whether more or was coming. The higher-ups wouldn't release even 1 gram. 7 days had passed since Lin Bei's last departure. On the giant wall screen, thousands of red dots marked monitoring stations worldwide. The communications team reported they'd been scanning all frequencies since day 3. Nothing. Lin Bei's signal beacon had never appeared anywhere on Earth. Li Yaodong was anxious. 7 days was just a week on Earth, but on that dangerous alien planet, anything could have happened. And it wasn't just Lin Bei's safety weighing on him. There was internal pressure too, political maneuvering, people pulling strings. Besides the ore, Lin Bei had also brought back a living ginseng spirit. It had been classified as a top-secret national biological specimen and locked in the highest security lab, information tightly sealed. But no wall is truly airtight. Whispers about a plant that could reverse aging and raise the dead had already begun circulating in certain powerful circles. There was no wall tight enough to keep the secret. For the first 3 days after the ginseng spirit arrived at base 305, academician Li Yaodong's secure phone nearly melted. People he couldn't normally get a meeting with were calling through every connection they had, making every promise imaginable, all for a single root hair. Just one. He couldn't give any of them what they wanted, but he couldn't afford to offend them either. So he packed up his bedroll, moved into the underground base, cut off every line of communication except the top command, and played ostrich. Out of sight, out of mind. After dismissing the meeting, Li Yaodong walked alone through heavy alloy doors and iris scanners to the deepest level, Lab 0, the highest security zone in the entire base. Guards every few steps, an independent air system, everything sealed tight. Through one-way glass, the lab inside had been transformed into a miniature forest. The soil was the richest black earth airlifted from Changbai Mountain. The lighting replicated the 3-sun spectrum from the alien world. In the center, the ginseng spirit Lin Bei had brought back was lounging on a slab of fine jade. One root leg crossed over the other, sunbathing without a care in the world. It looked completely different from when it first arrived. It had fattened up considerably. Its once shriveled, wrinkly skin was now round and plump with a jade-like sheen. Its scrawny limbs had grown thick as lotus roots. It was living its best life. "Nice little existence you've got," Li Yaodong muttered with a wry smile. The airlock behind him opened and an elegant figure walked in. It was Su Qingwan, the twins' mother. She was unrecognizable from the haggard woman who'd nearly collapsed when her daughters disappeared 7 days ago. Now she wore a pale green qipao, her hair jet black and lustrous. Her skin was smooth and tight with a healthy glow, every trace of wrinkles gone. She looked so young that standing next to Su Li and Su Yao, anyone would mistake the 3 of them for sisters. She was the only person besides Li Yaodong with unrestricted access to Lab 0, and she'd earned enormous respect for more than just being Lin Bei's designated guardian of the ginseng. 3 days earlier, she'd made a decision that stunned the entire business world. She sold every share, every asset, every overseas project under the Su family corporation, everything, cashing out hundreds of billions. Then she donated every cent to the Extraterrestrial Civilization Exploration Program and Special Task Force 305. Her words had been simple: "Money is just numbers to me now. If it helps Xiao Bei and my daughters, losing everything means nothing." She understood perfectly that the ginseng root hairs she'd been consuming were worth more than any fortune. Even the water from the ginseng spirit's first bath at the base had been divided up among certain important figures. Money was meaningless compared to what she had access to. She walked into the lab carrying a temperature-controlled case. The ginseng spirit heard her footsteps, flipped upright, and scurried over to rub against her leg like an eager little dog. It remembered exactly who brought the good stuff. Little glutton. She crouched down and patted its head lovingly. In this little creature, she felt a thread connecting her to her daughters. She opened the case and took out a test tube, a custom-made super nutrient solution created with the full power of national science, tailored specifically for this one plant. Leagues beyond the generic nutrient solution Lin Bei had. The ginseng spirit practically drooled but knew the rules. It extended its left leg, found a toothpick-thin root hair, yanked it out with a little squeak, and placed it in Su Qingwan's hand. A trait, a routine they'd built together. She carefully stored the root hair in a preservation box, then poured the solution into a small dish. The ginseng spirit dove onto it, absorbing the liquid through its body. With each drop, its glow brightened, and the wound from the plucked hair healed instantly. A deal that was pure profit for the little creature. Outside the glass, Li Yaodong watched and shook his head. That little thing is too clever. Ignores all of us. Only shows affection to Ms. Su. After feeding, Su Qingwan brought the root hair to Li Yaodong and handed it over. Lin Bei said before he left that half the ginseng belongs to me. Consider this root hair my gift to you, academician. Use it however you wish. You've been working so hard for those 3 children. Li Yaodong was deeply moved. She waved it off. She had more than she could safely consume anyway. I figured out what matters, she said, touching her now girl smooth face. Money is external. Power is fleeting. All I need to do now is use what I have, this precious ginseng, to pave the way for those 3 kids. And more importantly, I need to take care of myself. Stay alive. Stay healthy. Her gaze turned steel hard. I'm going to wait for the day they come home. Whether it takes 1 year, 10 years, or 50. As long as I'm still here, when they return to Earth, they'll still have a home. Li Yaodong looked at this remarkable mother and raised his hand in a solemn salute. 7th morning since the last trip to Earth. The first sunlight painted the rocky beach gold. I woke up on schedule and looked over at the girls. Su Yao was sprawled out as usual, clinging to her sister, mouth slightly open, dead to the world. Su Li had one arm draped protectively over her waist. Both were completely exhausted. Su Li from the shared senses thing with her twin that apparently drained her, then insisting on joining us halfway through the night. I tucked Su Yao's kicked-off blanket back over her, tiptoed out carrying my shoes, and only put them on once I was far enough away not to wake anyone. Outside, the air was fresh, about 40 degrees, comfortable for my enhanced body. I stretched and spotted 2 sad little figures in their dirt holes by the farm. The ginseng spirit's leaves and red flowers were wilting, their bodies shriveled like dehydrated radishes. Beautiful day. Let's start by rescuing the exploited workforce. I pulled out my last small bottle of plant nutrient solution. They'd earned it. Days of tilling soil and pulling weeds across several acres, plus yesterday's terror when Sylvie, their natural predator, showed up. They let out weak little squeaks when they saw me. I crouched down and dripped some green solution into their stone bowls. They perked up immediately, leaves stiffening, bodies plumping back to life. Then inspiration struck. I'd learned pioneer language, supposedly a universal higher tongue that all living things could instinctively understand. Could it work on sentient plants? I cleared my throat and spoke in pioneer language. Hear my voice, spirits of the earth. Both ginseng spirits froze mid-slurp. They slowly turned, stood upright in an eerily human way, crossed their front limbs over their chests, and bowed to me. They understood. The language had some kind of natural dominance over them, making them want to submit. If you can understand me, this gets much easier. Understanding meant they could be manipulated. Time for some world-class persuasion. Since you understand me, I'm giving you names. I pointed at the bigger one, about 60 centimeters tall. Your big one, then the smaller. Your little two. They nodded, curious about having names. Big one, little two. I let my voice turn heavy. You know you had a brother? The one I took away before. Little three. They froze, remembering watching me stuff their companion into a backpack and vanish. Little three is no longer in this world. I sighed dramatically. It was captured by terrifying 2-legged beasts on Earth. No rich soil there, no good sunlight. It's locked in a glass box every day while creatures in white coats drool over it, slicing it up and boiling it into soup. By now it's probably nothing but skin and bones, maybe just one root hair left. For extra effect, I dripped a couple drops of nutrient solution onto their heads, like tears. They shook with terror, clutching each other's roots. The outside world was a nightmare. I let the fear sink in, then switched to my warmest, most fatherly tone. But you two are different. I saved you. I feed you precious divine water. And yesterday, when that ginseng-eating demon woman showed up, who had you safely inside? Me, right? They nodded furiously. Absolutely true. Without me, Sylvie would have swallowed them whole. That's called a debt of gratitude. A life-saving debt you can never fully repay. I held up one finger, going in for the kill. All you have to do is work for me, guard these fields, and in your spare time, find me more ginseng companions out in the wild. I promise never to eat you, and I'll give you divine water every single day. It won't even be that long. Just 100 years. After 100 years, you're free. 100 years? For plant spirits that live thousands or tens of thousands of years, that was nothing. A blink of an eye. Big One and Little Two looked at each other. This deal was incredible. Keep their lives, get daily nutrient solution, and retire after just a century of work? They dropped to the ground and hugged my ankles, weeping with gratitude. Good. That's the spirit. I poured out the rest of the nutrient bottle for them and watched my two newly contracted farmhands sprint off to patrol the fields with renewed energy. A tiny pang of guilt flickered through me. Being an evil capitalist is harder than it looks. If little Fairy, the teacher who drilled me for 100 years, ever found out that the first real-world use of the noble, sacred pioneer language was to con two radishes into indentured servitude, she'd probably leap out of the dead bracelet and beat me for another century. After conning Big One and Little Two, I heard footsteps behind me. Suli came out supporting Suyao. Suli looked great after the night's rest, glowing skin, radiant. Suyao, on the other hand, was walking funny, limping along with one hand on her hip and the other on her sister's shoulder. She looked excited but clearly sore. "Why are you up already?" I rushed over to help. She looked up and glared at me, her face red as a ripe tomato. She couldn't even finish her sentence before burying her face in my chest. Suli heard everything, blushing too, but mostly just looking at her sister with helpless affection. She poked Suyao's forehead. "That's what you get for pretending to be me. Learned your lesson?" I didn't dare say a word. I just scooped Suyao up in my arms and grabbed Suli's hand. "Come on, breakfast. You need to recover. I made a big breakfast, roasted meat, vegetables, and a special porridge with beast meat and shredded ginseng root simmered in." Suyao drank the whole bowl without stopping. Within minutes, the color returned to her face and the soreness faded. "I'm alive again," she pumped her little fist. "I'm good to go." After we finished eating, I put down my chopsticks. "I've got a big announcement. This time, I'm taking both of you back to Earth with me." Their chopsticks clattered to the floor. "Together? But the portal has a weight limit. Last time Suyao got left behind because of it," I explained. "Before, I couldn't afford to bring you. Every gram of my weight allowance went to hauling back guns and supplies. Bringing you would have meant no equipment, and we'd be dead out here." I held up my wrist. "But now we have these bracelets. I can stuff all the you're going back and all the supplies coming over inside the phase space. The portal only sees a light silver ring on my wrist. Everything inside doesn't count. That frees up my entire carrying capacity. Plus my body weight is over 150 kilograms now thanks to the ginseng strengthening. I could carry both of you and your mother on top of that." Their eyes lit up like stars. "We can go home. We can see Mom." Suyao's voice trembled as she grabbed my arm. "Yes," I nodded. "One blink, and we go from this prehistoric jungle to Earth. Then we call your mom." They threw their arms around each other, crying. This alien planet had become livable with me here, but Earth was home. It had modern civilization. And most importantly, it had their mother, who they'd been missing desperately. Even just checking in, even if they had to come back, it was their biggest wish. "Get ready," I said, wiping their tears. "Once we pack everything, we leave." Suyao ran the morning drone patrol. No beastmen spotted. Then she checked on the Beast-Ear Girls' camp. Sylvie was organizing her people, packing up with help from the expanded storage bracelet. They'd probably arrive at our base by noon. With the area clear, Su Li and I stayed inside to mine or from the cave walls. I swung the Dragon Fong blade at a protruding mineral chunk. Sparks flew everywhere, but only tiny flakes chipped off. This stuff is insanely hard. The whole mountain is made of it. Even the wild boar mother couldn't crack it open. We can't even widen the cave entrance. We could only collect naturally loose pieces or chunks that the giant boar had knocked free during the stampede. Hopefully the samples from last time helped them figure out how to cut or blast this stuff, I said, tossing fragments into the bracelet. Sitting on a mountain of treasure we can't mine is torture. Suli wiped her sweat and smiled. "Maybe when we get back, we can ask the government for mining equipment or a pile of explosives." I shook my head. "The teleport lands us somewhere random. What if we end up in some foreign city? Nobody's going to help us there. We need to be ready to grab what we need on our own." Early morning, a special demolition project was underway outside the cave. Suyao stood on a tall rock, hands on hips like a little commander, barking orders in pioneer language at the ginseng spirits. Go pull up all the pepper trees and move them outward. Big one and little two, freshly energized from their nutrient solution, got right to work. In just a few days, the chili peppers I'd planted as a biological defense had exploded into 2 to 3 meter tall pepper trees covered in banana-sized mutant chilies that reeked of pure heat. But ginseng spirits don't breathe, so the spice didn't bother them at all. They wrapped their roots around each trunk and ripped them straight out of the ground like little excavators. I really didn't think this through, I said, collecting our fragments outside with Su Li. Back when it was just the three of us, I figured building a tribe would take decades. So I planted the pepper ring way too small. Now we've got an entire beast-ear girl tribe joining us. We need to push the perimeter out at least 2 kilometers. Su Li pointed at some colorful four-winged birds circling overhead. Our peppers seem popular with the local wildlife. I looked up just in time to see one dive down, snatch a giant red pepper, and swallow it whole. Then it flew off, spraying red stuff out its rear end as it went. Jet-propelled flight, I muttered. Well, at least they're spreading seeds for us. Pretty soon Earth's devil peppers will be an invasive species on this planet. After an hour of scavenging, Su Li and I had cleaned out every loose glowing or fragment we could find, inside and outside the cave. I checked the bracelet storage. All the or barely filled 2 cubic meters of the 1,000 available. A mountain of treasure we could barely scratch. Hey, I said, turning to Su Li. Since we discovered this stuff, don't we get naming rights? How about Lin Bei or? She gave me a look. That sounds like an insult. Su Lin or? No, that's clunky too. I tried again carefully. What about Yaoli or? Su Li paused mid-hair fix. She didn't say anything, but the corner of her mouth curved into a small, pleased smile. Then Su Yao's voice rang out. Lin Bei? Sis, the beast-ear girls are here. There's so many of them. Su Li's steps seemed lighter as she walked toward her sister. I followed, catching her shy, satisfied profile. She liked the name. We ducked back inside the cave and watched through the drone feed. A massive column was marching through the woodland toward us. Sylvie led from the front in fitted white beast-hide armor that bounced as she walked. The whip marks on her back had healed overnight, at the cost of one ginseng losing part of its leg. Behind her stretched over 200 beast-ear girls, leading tamed dinosaurs and herding flocks of livestock 2 to 3 meters tall. They halted about 500 meters out when Sylvie raised her hand. 300 meters ahead of them, Big One and Little Two were yanking pepper trees and clearing a wide corridor through the spice barrier. Sylvie's eyes turned red with emotion. She knew exactly how deadly that barrier was, strong enough to drop the toughest beastman warrior. And now the great pioneer had sent divine servants to open the way for them. All beast-ear girls, listen, she turned to her nervous tribe. Ahead is the pioneer's barrier, but our Lord has opened the gates for us. Put on your wet masks, lower your heads, and follow me with the most sincere hearts. They all pulled out dampened hide masks, covering their own faces and their animal snouts. Many were crying, not from the spice, but from gratitude. In their understanding, a powerful sanctuary would never welcome lowly half-beasts. That the Lord would open his doors for them was the greatest blessing imaginable. The column pushed through. The residual pepper fumes still stung and brought tears, but nothing like the knockout dose Sylvie had endured yesterday. Manageable. Once past the barrier, the sight of our farm stopped them dead. Up close, the crops were overwhelming. The red fruits. Can we eat them? A rabbit-ear girl stared at the giant tomatoes, drooling but terrified. On this planet, food was everywhere in the jungle, but 9 out of 10 plants were lethally poisonous or hallucinogenic. The brighter the fruit, the deadlier. These girls had survived by never touching anything unfamiliar. Sylvie stopped at the front, resting her hand on a corn stalk thicker than her arm, voice filled with pride and reverence. These aren't poisonous forest weeds. These are safe foods the pioneer Lord brought down from the heavens. The golden stalks, the red berries, all of them are safe to eat. All we have to do is serve the Lord, and he will give us the hope to survive the White Death. The column kept moving forward. They led their massive dinosaur mounts and herded fat dodo birds through the farmland, stepping so carefully they were afraid to crush a single leaf. They reached the open ground in front of the rocky beach and lined up neatly. Sylvie gave one command. Submit. Over 200 beast-ear girls dropped to the ground in unison, foreheads pressed to the dirt, not daring to breathe loudly. Inside the cave, Su Yao was watching the drone feed, face flushed with excitement. I straightened my clothes, adjusted my sunglasses, and said, "Let's go." We settle them in, grab Sylvie's bracelet, then we head to Earth. We walked toward the cave exit, and I stopped. The entrance was a narrow crawl hole you had to get on all fours to squeeze through. Outside, 200 fanatics were kneeling with their faces down, waiting for their great lord to appear. If they saw their pioneer deity crawling out of a hole butt first like a groundhog, my entire reputation was finished. Suli read my mind and whispered, "Lucky they're all looking down. Move fast." I took a deep breath, scrambled through the hole, jumped to my feet, dusted off my knees, and struck a cool pose just in time. The girls crawled out after me. Standing there facing the massive tribe for real was breathtaking. Over 200 gorgeous beast-ear girls with tails, all prostrate before us. Cool cat ears, cute rabbit ears, sultry fox ears, and a few round-eared bear girls who looked adorably dopey. A massive live cosplay event, all natural, zero artificial additions. And the dinosaurs lying flat on the ground, loaded with hide packs, but still radiating prehistoric menace with their fangs and claws. Our first time seeing living dinosaurs up close. "My lord," Sylvie kept her head down, hands raised, holding up the silver bracelet. "The Cloudvale tribe has arrived in full. Supplies, weapons, mounts, and the sacred relic, all offered to you." I took the bracelet and slipped it on. Now Su Li and I each had one storage device. Our shopping efficiency on Earth just doubled. My eyes drifted to the biggest dinosaur beside Sylvie, a massive beast with dark red feathers and strangely intelligent eyes. I wanted to test a theory. I walked up to it. The creature snorted nervously, but as I got close, something shifted in its gaze, a hint of obedience. I spoke a command in pioneer language. "Dinosaur, stand." The fearsome predator let out a submissive rumble and slowly rose, then lowered its head and nuzzled against my hand. Sylvie covered her mouth in shock. She'd raised this mount from birth, and even she was the only one who could get near it. One sentence from me, and it turned into a puppy. I ran my hand over its rough skin, confirmed what I suspected. Sylvie's legends are true. These dinosaurs are bioweapons from the previous generation of pioneers. I pried open its mouth. The fangs were cold and hard, more like bioalloy than bone. Its claws had a metallic sheen. The skin under its feathers was unnaturally tough. Genetically engineered war creatures with enhanced teeth, claws, and skin, plus a gene lock that made them obey pioneer language commands. No wonder these small dinosaurs could fight evenly against 6-meter heavy beasts. This meant all the dinosaurs could become my most loyal soldiers whenever I wanted. "Everyone, rise." They stood. Sylvie towered over me. My head barely reached her chest. "My lord, should we set up camp here?" She eyed the rocky terrain, looking a bit confused. "Plenty of food around, but no cave big enough for 200 people. What kind of place do you prefer living in?" I asked, wanting their input. "Happy workers are productive workers." Sylvie looked embarrassed. "We've lived in tree houses and cliff caves before, but honestly, everyone likes living underground best." "Underground?" A shy barrier girl behind Sylvie spoke up timidly. "If we could dig our own tunnels in your territory, that would be wonderful. Winding tunnels deep underground. Warm, safe. We love those." My mouth twitched. "Digging holes? Do they have hibernation genes?" Su Yao muttered in Chinese. Actually, this was perfect. I'd been planning to bring back explosives from Earth to blast out caves in the hillside. They just saved me the trouble. "Fine, dig to your heart's content." I assigned them the sloped area below the rocky beach connecting to the scorched forest, higher ground with thick soil. "Clear the loose rocks today and flatten out a plaza. I'll plan out an underground apartment zone for you later." "Thank you, my lord." Their eyes lit up with pure joy. With the year-long ice age approaching, living in burrows right next to the pioneer lord gave them enormous peace of mind. Sylvie barked orders, and 200 beast-ear girls sprang into action. Their strength was insane. Rocks weighing 200 or 300 pounds got scooped up by girls barely 2 meters tall and carried off like nothing. I nodded with satisfaction, watching the bustling construction site. "Let's go," I told Su Li and Su Yao. Back inside, the portal's green glow lit up our faces. Sylvie's bracelet had been emptied. All her tribe's supplies and the massive black stone tablet were piled in a cave corner for later. I stood before the portal, doing a final check. This time, We weren't going back like desperate refugees. Su Li and Su Yao had changed into earth clothes, slim jeans, hiking jackets, grip boots. After everything they'd been through, plus the ginseng nourishment, they looked stunning in even the simplest outfit. Su Li, left hand. She held it out, slender fingers glowing in the green light. I took the phase bracelet and willed it to reshape. It shrank and reformed into a delicate silver ring. I gently slid it onto her left ring finger. Perfect fit. I traced the surface to confirm her access permissions. Authority granted. She knew exactly what a ring on that finger meant. Her eyes went soft and liquid. The ring's storage is empty right now. Your job is to fill it with everything useful you see, food, supplies, anything that improves our quality of life. Grab it all. Understood. I'll fill every last cubic meter. She pulled her hand back and pressed it against her heart. Hey, that's not fair. Su Yao pouted furiously, stomping her foot. Why does she get a ring? I want one too. On my ring finger, I pulled out a white rabbit milk candy from the bracelet, unwrapped it, and said, "Open." Huh. I popped it straight into her mouth before she could protest. No more rings available, but I'll get you all the snacks you want. When we're back on Earth, we'll load up on treats just for you. None for your sister, really? The candy melted in her mouth and her eyes turned into happy crescents. All grievances forgotten. I want sunflower seeds. Done. I'll get them. We did final equipment checks. Su Yao's phone was packed with videos from these past days. Drone footage of the scorched forest, the Beast Girl battle, the ginseng spirits fighting over nutrient solution, the three of us eating giant corn by the fire. All for Mom. Battery full, signal booster on, encrypted video app running. Su Yao looked up, big eyes shining. Ready? I crouched down, spread my arms, and scooped both girls up at once. One in each arm, hands under their knees. They yelped and grabbed my neck, legs wrapping around my waist, sitting snugly on my forearms. Light as dolls. I bounced them once to gauge the weight. About 150 kilos total. Their enhanced bones and muscles made them heavier than they looked, but well within the portal's limit. Su Li buried her blushing face in my neck. Do you have to carry us like this? Free shipping. No complaints. I looked at the portal timer. 13 minutes, 25 seconds. Our longest shopping window ever. Listen up, I went serious. Su Yao, the instant your phone gets signal after we cross, open the red encrypted app and video call your mom. Got it. Su Li, you and I handle security and scavenging. Wherever we land, someone else is paying. Take everything. No hesitation. Understood. Her finger touched the ring, ready to pull the loaded shotgun from storage at a moment's notice. Move out. I stepped through the shimmering green portal carrying both of them. The familiar lurch of weightlessness came and went. Earth's heavier gravity pulled at me for a second before my body adjusted. Then noise. Traffic. Civilization. We're here. I stayed alert, scanning the surroundings before putting the girls down. A pedestrian street. Not many people. Neat landscaped trees, signs with mixed characters, some Japanese, some kanji. Not China. Once I confirmed it was safe, I set them down and pulled out the pineapple phone and signal beacon from the bracelet. The phone launched its countdown app automatically, ticking away 13 minutes for command center to see. The beacon's green light blinked once per second. Back in China, they'd already know their interstellar traveler was home. I didn't press the red emergency button. That meant, I'm in mortal danger, send everything. No need to start an international incident over a peaceful street. Signal. Su Yao's trembling fingers hit the encrypted video call. One ring. Instant pickup. Su Qingwan's face filled the screen, elegant, barely containing her emotions. Yao Yao? Shaoli, Imom. Su Yao burst into tears, all her toughness crumbling at once. Mommy, I missed you so much. We're okay. We're doing so well. That's all that matters. That's all that matters. Su Qingwan was sobbing, hand over her mouth. Su Li leaned in, eyes red, calling out for Mom too. I let them have their moment. Meanwhile, I opened the special navigation app, Tiansong, a satellite map loaded with a blinking blue dot. Current location, Japan, Hokkaido, Sapporo, Kyoto Ward. A twisted grin spread across my face. Not our country? Then no need to be polite. I leaned into the camera briefly. Auntie Sue, no time for a long chat. Video files are uploading automatically. You'll see everything. They're safe with me. We get pulled back in 13 minutes. Need to grab supplies now. She nodded quickly. tears still flowing. Go? Take whatever you need. I'll pay for everything. Be safe. I hung up. Data kept uploading in the background. Let's move. The Tiansong app was beautifully simple. Location plus tag points of interest within 3 kilometers. Warehouses, hardware stores, supermarkets. A zero-cost shopping guide built by national think tanks using global data, designed specifically for me. A red icon popped up on screen. Target recommended, Costco Sapporo Warehouse Store. Distance, 500 meters, turn left. Status, open. I grabbed both girls and started running. Target ahead. Turn left, straight for 500 meters. There's a Costco, the biggest warehouse supermarket there is. Back in China, Base 305 erupted into chaos the instant our signals appeared. Academician Li Yaodong was napping when the red alarm screamed. He jumped up like a spring, didn't even get his shoes on properly, and sprinted barefoot to the command center in 19 seconds flat. A general crashed through the doors right behind him, hands slamming the console. Where is he? The red dot on the big screen wasn't on Chinese soil. It had landed on that narrow island chain to the east, Japan. For signal sources locked. 3 phones, 1 black box beacon. All in Sapporo, Hokkaido, Kyoto Ward. Remaining transfer time, 12 minutes 30 seconds. Li Yaodong groaned and slammed his fist on his thigh. If I'd landed anywhere in China, they could have had fighter jets overhead in 5 minutes. But a foreign country with stationed troops? That was a diplomatic nightmare. The general studied the data feed. He's moving in a straight line. There's a large warehouse supermarket 200 meters ahead. He's heading for supplies. He's going shopping, Li Yaodong realized. Decisive kid. The general's eyes flashed with approval. If he's shopping, we clear the path. Not 1 second wasted on nonsense. I want a working Costco Global Black Card sent to all 3 phones within 10 seconds. Keyboards exploded with activity. This wasn't just hacking. It was a national intelligence apparatus doing a precision strike on a membership database. 3 seconds. Intrusion successful. Membership created. Card generated and sent to all target phones. The general then turned to the map, eyes locking on Jiamusi, China's nearest military base to Hokkaido. Order, Jiamusi base. 8 stealth fighters. Airborne immediately. Meanwhile, I had no idea that my grocery run had just activated a war machine across the ocean. All I could see was the giant red and blue Costco sign ahead. Go? Right there. I pulled both girls along at a dead sprint. 500 meters in about 40 seconds. Thank you, ginseng upgrades. But as we got close, I saw a problem. Costco was members only, and the entrance wasn't crowded enough to sneak through. My eyes went cold. Time was life. Every second was priceless. I wasn't about to stand in line for a membership card. Su Li, get ready for combat. My right hand hovered empty, mind linked to the bracelet storage. The modified assault rifle with its oversized drum magazine was loaded and waiting. One thought, and it'd be in my grip. My plan was brutally simple. Charge the entrance, pull the gun, fire 1 shot into the air. If the guard tried to stop us, he'd get around too. Gunshot clears the crowd, doors wide open. We storm in and fill our bracelets before anyone shows up. Stay close. If anyone blocks us, give them the shotgun. Understood. Su Li's finger touched her ring. 50 meters. 30 meters. Killing intent was radiating off me like cold air. Just as I was about to materialize the rifle and give this supermarket a little taste of historical karma. Ding dong. 3 urgent notification sounds rang from all 3 phones simultaneously. Not regular alerts. The highest priority tone. Su Yao grabbed my arm. Wait. Don't pull the gun. Look. I froze mid-motion and checked the screen. A black and gold QR code floated in the center. Costco Global Black Card member. Privileges. Skip all lines. VIP entrance. Below it, a short message in just a few characters. Go ahead and grab what you need. We're on our way. I stared for a second, then my tensed muscles relaxed. All right. Since we've got a membership card, let's be civilized. For now. We didn't slow down. If anything, we ran faster. We blew past the small line of people and charged straight at the entrance guard. The dutiful guard saw us cutting the line and reached out to stop us. Before his hand touched my sleeve, I'd already shoved my phone screen into his scanner. Beep. A long 3-second tone, the special sound reserved for the highest tier members only. The guard froze, glanced at his scanner display. Distinguished black card member, global access, and his outstretched blocking arms smoothly transformed into a perfect 90-degree bow. Arigato. Welcome. We blew past him like wind. No pause. No words. Straight inside. We burst into the supermarket at full speed. The massive warehouse space was bright and packed with towering shelves of goods. More people than I expected. Families with huge shopping carts. Young people hunting for deals. The smell of fresh rotisserie chicken hit us immediately. We didn't grab a cart. We held hands and sprinted through the aisles at full speed, which, combined with how we looked, turned every head in the place. After the ginseng enhancements, I was over 6'3", and both girls had skin that practically glowed, with perfect figures that made every housewife in the store look plain. Sugoi, people whispered. Are they celebrities? Is this a TV show? Young shoppers whipped out phones, snapping photos like paparazzi. Shutter sounds everywhere. Suli squeezed my palm nervously. We're way too visible. Everyone's getting clear shots of our faces. I didn't slow down. Can't help it. The moment we make our move, we'll be on every intelligence agency's radar worldwide. Our cover's blown no matter what. After this, unless I can control exactly where and when we teleport, I'm never bringing you two back to Earth on a risky run again. But since we're already here, let's go big. We did a full reconnaissance sweep first, racing through every section without touching anything, for minutes to memorize the entire layout. A-Zone, fresh meats and seafood in the cold storage. B-Zone, snacks and instant food, high-calorie stuff. C-Zone, outdoor and camping gear, priority target. D-Zone, electronics and appliances. Portable heaters might work to charge the portal. I checked the countdown burned into my vision. 6 minutes, 13 seconds. 6 minutes left. That's enough to clean this place out, but not enough for Japanese police to organize a response. Even if they're fast, they can't surround this building in 6 minutes. Let's do it. Su Li and I locked eyes. The same sharp glint passed between us. I gave the signal. Light flashed from both our wrists. In the next instant, guns materialized in our empty hands. Su Li held a Remington M870 shotgun, and I had my modified monster of a rifle, bored out to a terrifying 22mm caliber with armor-piercing rounds and a 10-round drum. Less a gun, more a one-man cannon. A few girls who'd been sneaking photos froze, smiles dying on their faces. I didn't aim at anyone. I pointed the barrel at a concrete wall covered with a giant advertisement and pulled the trigger. Boom. Not a gunshot. Thunder. For some reason, the weapon felt even more powerful than before. The 22mm tungsten core round created a sonic blast that rattled every window in the building. The thick concrete wall exploded outward, a hole the size of a wash basin, rebar twisted and bent, dust billowing. After a heartbeat of absolute silence came the screaming. Shoppers hit the floor, trembling. Others abandoned their carts and stampeded for the exits. Everybody out, I roared in pioneer language, which every living creature instinctively understood. Then I put another round through the ceiling for good measure. A light fixture exploded and glass rained down. That broke the last shred of resistance. The entire store emptied in a flood of screaming, crying people pouring toward the doors. Clear. Let's work. I lowered the gun, eyes blazing. Su Yao, lead your sister. Grab everything you want to eat first. Let's go. Su Yao leaped up and dragged Su Li toward the fresh food section. What happened next would have made Newton flip in his grave. Wherever the three of us ran, merchandise simply vanished, like an eraser sweeping across a page. I hit the frozen meat counter. Rows of Wagyu beef, thick-cut steaks, whole lamb legs. I didn't pick anything up. I just brushed my palm along the edge of the freezer case. The entire freezer, case and all, disappeared into thin air. The girls were tearing through the snack section. Su Yao was in paradise. Chips. Sis, I want these. Su Li's hand brushed the shelf and an entire wall of potato chips vanished, rack included, stacked neatly inside her ring's face space. Cookies. This brand is amazing. And this cola. Linbei specifically requested it. After loading Su Yao's snacks, Su Li got practical. She dragged her sister to the household goods and clothing sections. Tissues. Down jackets. Quilts. Winter's coming. Take everything. A few touches and hundreds of boxes of tissues and piles of bedding vanished into her ring. Shampoo, body wash, laundry soap, skincare, all of it. We were like 3 human vacuum cleaners. Nothing survived where we passed. My targets were heavier. In the outdoor section, I grabbed generators, waterproof tents, toolboxes with power drills and electric saws, even a small snow plow. At the optics counter, I spotted professional astronomical telescopes with huge lenses. Perfect. We can finally get a good look at that giant planet overhead and see if anyone's up there. One wave and the telescopes vanished with all their accessories. Someone's coming. Su Yao's enhanced hearing picked up movement. A few security guards in riot gear were peeking around a corner with clear shields and batons, apparently hoping those could stop my wall-destroying cannon. I didn't even turn around. Su Li. She raised the Remington and fired. The slug slammed into the concrete wall right beside the guards, showering them with sparks and debris. The two in front dropped to their knees, threw down their shields, and scrambled back through the employee corridor, locking the door behind them. Su Li blew imaginary smoke from the barrel and turned away coolly. Gone. We kept sweeping. As shelves disappeared, people hiding underneath got exposed. A young couple was clinging to each other under a rice display. When I absorbed the entire shelf, tons of rice and all, they opened their eyes to find their cover gone and me looming over them with a gun. Don't move. Stay quiet and you'll be fine, I said in pioneer language, which anyone could instinctively understand. Then I walked away. These civilians were actually useful. With hostages inside, police wouldn't storm the building. 2 minutes, 44 seconds left. Lin Bei. I'm full. Can't fit anything more. Su Li shook her wrist. The ring was flashing red, space maxed out. Mine was the same. 2,000 cubic meters total, packed to the brim in just 4 minutes. I looked at the mountain of goods still remaining and sighed. If only we had more bracelets. This is plenty. Su Li wiped my sweat. Enough for years. All right, fall back. We herded about 15 crying stragglers into the employee bathroom to serve as human shields. Jammed the door with a mop handle. Stay inside if you want to live. Then shut ourselves in the break room. The three of us collapsed against the wall, sitting on the floor, gasping and laughing. That was insane. Now that's how you shop. Su Yao was patting her chest, face flushed. Way more exciting than mining in a cave, Su Li agreed, smoothing her messy hair. 2 minutes left. Call mom. The girls called Su Qingwan again for a final goodbye while I dialed a different number. Li Yaodong picked up instantly. Lin Bei, we've locked your position. Status? We're fine. 2,000 cubic meters of storage, both completely full. This time we landed in Japan, so our faces are going to be everywhere. Also, I can't leave behind the tons of ore I brought. No drop-off possible. I heard what sounded like several people collapsing on the other end when I mentioned the spatial bracelets and tons of ore. Li Yaodong laughed. Everything else is secondary. As long as you're alive, I talked fast, told him we'd established a base, recruited a native tribe, and that all the video evidence was already uploading through the phones. He gave me preliminary intel on how to process and use the Yali Oregon. Next time, with the right equipment, we could try expanding our cave. 15 seconds left. Outside, police sirens were finally closing in. Cop cars and SWAT vehicles surrounded the building. A megaphone crackled with negotiation demands. I ignored all of it. Lin Bei, mom wants to talk to you. Su Yao handed me her phone. Su Qingwan's face filled the screen, eyes swollen from crying. Xiao Bei, her voice trembled with a fragile, desperate hope. Can you take me with you? I don't need anything anymore. The money, the company, I gave it all away. I just want to be with my girls. Even if it's on an alien planet. Su Li and Su Yao nearly broke down again. My heart ached too, but I had to be firm. Auntie Su, not yet. The portal has restrictions. I can't bring anyone from Earth over. The light drained from her eyes. She looked like someone had pulled the life out of her. Auntie Sue, please don't lose hope. I watched the countdown hit 3 seconds and shouted my promise. Trust me. Give me time. Once I figure out how the portal works, I will reunite you with Su Li and Su Yao. The moment the countdown hit 0, the three of us vanished from that break room and landed back in our alien cave. But back on Earth, we'd left behind quite a mess. Within minutes of our disappearance, dozens of police cars and SWAT vehicles had surrounded the Costco. Self-defense force helicopters circled overhead. Armed assault teams smashed through the break room door screaming, "Don't move," only to find an empty room and a dozen shell-shocked hostages locked in the bathroom. The three heavily armed terrorists had simply evaporated. When police entered the main store and saw what looked like the aftermath of a tornado, entire shelves, freezers, and thousands of tons of merchandise just gone, no fingerprints, no footprints, every officer went silent. Within an hour, the story exploded across global media. BBC, NHK, every major outlet ran it as breaking news. Ghost thieves in Sapporo, space folding technology, supernatural event, or alien invasion. But the real chaos was online. A shaky phone video shot by a terrified customer went viral across Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, and Chinese social media simultaneously. The footage showed me walking through the store holding hands with two stunning women. Then weapons materialized in our empty hands out of thin air, no drawing motion, like switching guns in a video game. The wall exploded. And then I shouted one sentence in a language that didn't belong to any known system on Earth. That sentence was the strangest part. When the audio played through speakers and headphones around the world, every single listener, regardless of what language they spoke, instantly understood the meaning. No translation needed. It bypassed language entirely and struck the brain directly. Everybody get out. It sent chills through millions of people watching from their screens. Chinese internet went absolutely nuclear. Every trending topic turned deep red with explosive tags. The comment sections became a circus. I knew it. This is the same guy from the New York zero-cost shopping spree. Same face. The old man he saved at the outdoor store last time has been posting on Twitter trying to find him, saying he wants to repay the debt, even offered to marry him. No wonder the guy ran off to Japan instead. Beautiful work. Shopping spree in Japan. Full marks from me. Hold on. Am I the only one who noticed the two girls he's holding hands with? They're absolutely divine. And they're identical? Twins, left and right. One girl each arm. Magic weapons. Global free shopping. Appears and disappears at will. Even novels wouldn't dare write this. Forget the girls. Look at that gun barrel. Over 20 millimeters caliber. That's not a rifle. That's a one-man artillery piece. And the design looks suspiciously like our military's latest QBZ modified series. Think about that. The whole world was arguing. Aliens, immortal cultivators returning to Earth, secret super soldiers from a classified program. Everyone had a theory. Nobody had the truth. While we were back on the alien planet settling in our hall, Earth was dealing with the fallout. 100 meters underground in Beijing, Base 305's conference room was packed with top brass from the military, the Science Academy, the Foreign Ministry, and every special department that mattered. The mood was heavy, very different from the internet carnival happening above ground. The diplomatic pressure was intense. A man in a suit explained that Japan had filed formal protests, accusing China of deploying super-temporal soldiers and stealth fighters into their territory. America had sent diplomatic notes demanding disclosure of teleportation and spatial storage technology. An old general slammed the table. Tell them it's private civilian behavior. Say we're looking for him too. Let them catch him themselves if they can. Li Yaodong steered things back on track. The top leadership had already spoken. They'd absorb all the pressure so the team could focus. The core mission was digesting the intelligence I'd sent back and preparing for the next contact. That's when things got exciting. Li Yaodong corrected everyone. The rare or now had an official name, Yaoli, or as I'd named it. Then he dropped the bombshell. I'd confirmed having 2 spatial bracelets with 1,000 cubic meters each, and I'd stockpiled over 10 tons of Yaoli, or inside them. An 80-something-year-old man named Professor Wang, the godfather of Chinese materials science, toppled backward out of his chair, eyes rolling, limbs twitching. He'd spent his entire career fighting over special metals, and just yesterday, he'd gotten into a fistfight with a colleague over a few grams of sample material, and lost. 10 tons, he wailed, tears streaming. Right there, and we can't get it back. This is torture. He actually fainted. Li Yaodong was ready. A guard rushed over with a thermos of the ginseng spirits bathwater. They poured some down the old man's throat. 3 seconds later, his deathly pale face flushed pink. His cloudy eyes snapped sharp, and he shoved everyone away, bellowing, "Help me up. I will live long enough to see that or come home." The instant revival left every jaw in the room on the floor. Once Professor Wang calmed down, he presented the breakthrough on processing the ore. Brute force didn't work. but pulsing it with a specific ultra-high-frequency electrical current acted like entering the right unlock code. The atomic locks inside the mineral would release instantly. No heat, no melting, and the indestructible rock would turn into a cold, mercury-like fluid. Cut the current, and it hardened right back. They'd already built a pulse current device for me. No explosives or excavators needed. Just plug it in, and the whole mountain would flow like water. Li Yaodong moved to the biggest point. The screen showed Su Yao's footage. Over 200 beast-ear girls prostrate on the ground. The thriving farm. The automated turret guarding our cave. He's no longer just surviving. A strategic analyst stood up, eyes blazing. He's become a lord. Our support strategy has to change completely. We used to send survival kits. Now we send industrialization packages. Li Yaodong's voice trembled with excitement as he issued orders. With 2,000 cubic meters of transport capacity, they could stop sending tiny care packages. Industrial-grade solar arrays, boxed solid-state power stations, engineering vehicles, stuff it all in as long as it fits. Help me achieve full electrification on an alien planet. The agriculture department got orders for high-yield reusable seeds and powerful ginseng nutrient solution. The military industry department was told to not only build human weapons, but design heavy weapons and specialized armor for beast-ear girls, accounting for their tails and ears, since their physical abilities were 8 to 10 times beyond peak human. Don't just arm Lin Bei, Li Yaodong said, pointing at footage of beast-ear girls casually lifting 300-pound boulders. Arm his beast-ear girl army down to the tips of their tails. Professor Wang was still muttering in the corner, clutching his chest. An entire mountain of Yali, Oregon, that's billions of tons. Li Yaodong watched the screen showing me receiving the beast-ear tribe, standing in complete command. His smile slowly faded into something more complex. He glanced at a thick document on the table. 3-year survival and 5-year development plan for alien operations, assembled by hundreds of top strategists working around the clock. Now it was waste paper. I'd recruited natives, built a base, acquired spatial technology, and achieved basic food self-sufficiency in under a month, across just 4 teleportation trips. That growth rate had shattered every prediction model their think tanks had built. Even the national machine couldn't keep up. He's rising too fast, Li Yaodong murmured to himself, fingers tracing the rim of his teacup. A strange mix of loss and anticipation settled in his chest. At this terrifying pace, it won't be long before he doesn't need our so-called support at all. We materialized back in our alien cave. Both girls were still clinging to me, faces pressed against my neck, breathing fast. The whole Earth trip had been an insane adrenaline rush, pulling guns in public, raiding a supermarket, facing a police siege, all in under 15 minutes. 2 girls who'd lived peaceful lives for 20 years were completely wired. Now, back in our primitive but safe little territory, the tension snapped like a rubber band. I was their anchor point. Suli looked up at me with flushed cheeks, zero composure left, eyes practically pulling me in. Lin Bei, your heart's beating so fast. That's from the excitement. But if your hands keep wandering, it'll be beating fast for a different reason. Before Suli could make a move, Su Yao was already on her tiptoes planting a kiss on my cheek. That was amazing. We're like movie bandits. I patted their backs, feeling their heartbeats slowly settle. We're home. It's okay. After a while, Suli pulled herself together, face still red. Yao Yao, come help me. Change pants. Go yourself. I don't need to change. Don't even pretend. I know you do too. Su Yao whined but eventually followed her sister to the changing area. Once they came back, we sat down to take inventory. The phase bracelet only allowed one person's consciousness inside the storage space at a time, so we took turns looking. Su Yao went first, closed her eyes, and immediately started drooling. So much food. My cherries. And chips. Inside, it looked like we'd teleported an entire supermarket. Steel shelving racks stacked neatly in rows, loaded with goods. After Suli checked her ring storage too, I pointed out something important. Besides the food and supplies, those steel shelving racks themselves are valuable. The shelves? Suli looked confused. They're just iron. Think about it. We've got over 200 beast-ear girls. If they all sleep on the ground in their tunnels, that takes up enormous space, and underground is damp and cold. But those warehouse racks are multi-level, sturdy, and the right height. Throw some wooden boards and animal hides on top, and you've got instant bunk beds. Upper, middle, and lower. Both girls lit up. The beastier girls had been sleeping on grass-covered dirt. Rack beds would save massive amounts of living space and be far more comfortable. But won't everything fall off when you pull the shelves out? Suyao worried about her snacks. Watch this. I focused on a rack loaded with flour bags and willed just the rack out. Clang! The 5-meter-tall steel rack appeared on the cave floor. But the flour stayed behind inside the storage space, still floating in the exact same stacked shape, held in place by invisible force. Phase space has no gravity and no time flow, I explained, lying down on the empty rack to test it as a bed. Not bad. Everything inside is perfectly still. We can pull out any single item without disturbing anything else. The only downside is we can't be selective when storing. That's why we ended up with all those useless freezer cases. We decided to leave most supplies in the bracelets for now since cave space was limited. Instead, we turned our attention to the pile of tribal dowry Sylvie had brought. The front half of our cave was stacked with her people's belongings. Stacks of processed animal hides, white snow wolf pelts, spotted saber-toothed tiger skins, huge scaled reptile hides. All expertly stripped and intact. Bundles of semi-dried meat and herbs tied with grass rope. Several large hide bags filled with faintly glowing gemstones in every color, ruby reds, emerald greens, deep sapphire blues. Suli picked up a basketball-sized blue gem. Back on Earth, a few of these could probably buy Mom's entire corporation. The most striking piece was the massive black stone tablet, leaning against the cave wall. Its surface was mirror-smooth, completely dust-free. I walked over and touched it. Cold. No reaction at all. Just felt like ordinary obsidian. This thing looks even more advanced than the learning cube. Definitely hiding secrets. But I wasn't in a rush to lick it. Research can wait. Food comes first. And the beastier girls outside are making a racket. Let's go see what they're up to. We crawled out of the cave into the afternoon sun. When I saw the rocky beach, I sucked in a breath even though I'd expected progress. We'd been gone less than 20 minutes. The rocky wasteland that used to be covered in sharp stones and uneven ground was already half cleared into flat terrain. Is this really our front yard? Suyao rubbed her eyes. Heavy thuds shook the ground. Dozens of adult beastier girls were working without any tools. They picked up rocks weighing hundreds of pounds with their bare hands, lifted them overhead, and slammed them down to pack the loose dirt flat. Each impact compacted the soil further. The uneven ground was turning hard and level under these living pile drivers. Smaller beastier girls, the ones only about 2 meters tall, were carrying baskets woven from vines, hauling rubble and dirt to fill in low spots. The whole area was a buzzing construction site. China's famous infrastructure obsession would be crying with jealousy, I muttered. Then Suli tugged my sleeve, voice shaking. Lin Bei, look over there. In one cleared corner sat a stomach-turning pile, a small mountain of dead bugs. Fist-sized giant ants with massive pincers, centipedes as thick as my thigh, spiders the size of wash basins. As we watched, a little rabbit-ear girl reached into a crack between rocks, grabbed something, and yanked. Out came a dead snake as thick as my leg and nearly 10 meters long. She sniffed it, decided it had gone bad, and casually tossed it onto the bug pile. My skin crawled. So that's what that smell was, I said, covering my nose. I thought it was leftover stench from the dead boar. Turns out the entire rock field was hiding a zoo of nasty creatures underneath. We'd been lucky. The wildfire days ago hadn't burned under the rocks, but the heat had cooked everything hiding in the crevices. And our cave entrance had always been sealed tight enough that none of these things had crawled inside while alive. We exchanged looks, all three of us grateful to have dodged that nightmare without even knowing it. The beastier girls spotted us emerging but didn't approach without orders. I scanned for Sylvie. Nowhere to be seen, probably busy somewhere. But a figure by the farm caught my eye. A little barrier girl with round ears and baby fat still on her cheeks, wearing an oversized hide skirt. She was crouching at the field's edge, staring at a giant potato sticking halfway out of the ground. I could hear her swallow from where I stood. The exact same look Su Yao gets after 3 days without food. I snuck up behind her silently. Want to eat it? She exploded 5 meters straight up like a bouncing ball, shrieking. When she landed and saw it was me, her face went white. She threw herself flat on the ground. My lord, I wasn't stealing. I was just looking. She was terrified that eyeing my food would get her whole tribe kicked out. Relax. I crouched down, keeping my voice gentle. What's your name? She peeked up cautiously. Seeing I was smiling, she relaxed slightly. I'm Winnie. Winnie? I paused. Sylvie gave me the name. She said I'd grow up big and round, rounder than hers even. She seemed a little bothered by the round part. Great name. Suits you perfectly. I reached out my hand. She flinched and squeezed her eyes shut, expecting a hit. Instead, my palm landed on top of her head and gently rubbed her round, fluffy bare ears. I couldn't stop. The texture was incredible, thick velvet fur, warm, bouncy. Absolute perfection. Su Yao was already drooling with envy and rushed over. Me too. Let me touch. For hands attacked poor Winnie's head at once. She didn't dare resist as we rubbed her ears red and hot. Though secretly, she seemed to like it. Her eyes went half shut, and a tiny purring sound rumbled from her throat. Hungry? I asked, pulling my hands back. She blushed and covered her stomach. And no, growl. Her belly immediately betrayed her. She looked like she wanted to melt into the ground. Don't be embarrassed. I pulled out a white rabbit candy from storage, unwrapped it, and popped it in her mouth. Her eyes went round as saucers, ears standing straight up from the sweetness. Go find Sylvie for me, I said, patting her head. Tell everyone, finish up work, dinner's coming. Dinner? Her eyes sparkled. Really? We can eat. Not just eat. Today's a celebration. Every single beast-ear girl eats until she's full. Yes, my lord. She bolted toward the work site at full speed, shouting as she ran, probably afraid I'd change my mind. Come quick. Dinner time. The Lord says everyone eats until they're full. A few minutes later, Sylvie came running over, covered in dust from hauling the dead boar mother's bones. My lord, when he said you wanted me, she was sweaty and about to kneel, but I stopped her. None of that in my territory. I told her to let everyone stop working. They'd moved an entire tribe and cleared half a wasteland in one day. They'd earned a break. To celebrate the beast-ear girls joining us and our new home taking shape, I was throwing an outdoor feast. A big communal meal. Everyone eats until they're full. Sylvie looked stunned. For forest-dwelling beast-ear girls, food was always the scarcest resource. To stockpile for the coming ice age, they usually ate just once a day, half-raw roasted meat at best. In all her years wandering between beastman territories, she'd never heard of anyone feeding over 200 people until they were stuffed. She was about to kneel in gratitude again. Save the kneeling energy for eating, I said. I gave her assignments. Send some girls to the burned forest for firewood and charcoal. Have others pick tomatoes, corn, and potatoes from the fields. I'd handle the cooking gear and meat. We're lighting the biggest bonfire and making this meal a real celebration. But when I mentioned fire, Sylvie's face changed. She looked nervously at the sky. My lord, outdoor fires are dangerous. The fire-extinguishing birds? She nodded. They were called Sky River sparrows, guardians of the southern forest who hated smoke. Any sign of fire, and they'd fly in to dump rain on it. If the fire was too big, they'd attack with claws sharp enough to tear dinosaur hide. Her tribe had learned to cook by throwing meat into fire and hiding in caves until the birds left. That explained why their food was always half raw or burnt, and why that bald bird showed up every time we had smoke. Don't worry, I said confidently. Tonight we eat. No bird is stopping us. Soon, 5 massive iron pots from earth were set up in the center of the newly flattened plaza. I threw in some wet wood for extra smoke, basically sending up a giant taunt signal. 2 minutes later, familiar angry squawking echoed from the horizon. They're coming. Sky River sparrows, some cat-ear and rabbit-ear girls screamed in fear. Nobody move. Keep cutting meat, I commanded. I looked up. There was my old friend, the bald-winged bird missing feathers on one side, big as a jumbo jet. But this time, riding on its back was an even bigger bird, its father, the flock king. They flew and stacked on top of each other like a tower, blocking out the sky. The sun was flapping desperately under the extra weight. Brought the whole family to enforce the law, Su Li and Su Yao said, mouths hanging open. Sylvie explained that the king bird had come personally because there'd been too many fire alarms from our territory lately. A supervisory inspection. The old bird on top let out a commanding screech, either scolding its son for flying crooked or giving us a final warning. I had plenty of ways to deal with them. Easiest option, one cannon shot, bring them down, and add 2 pairs of spicy grilled wings to tonight's menu. But I held back. These birds were forest guardians and free irrigation. Killing them would be wasteful and might trigger the whole flock into revenge attacks. Different approach. I pulled a megaphone from storage, searched through a century's worth of pioneer language vocabulary, and found exactly what I needed. Forest guardians, stand down. There is an wildfire here. The sound wave cut through the sky like a blade. Both birds froze mid-flight. The sun nearly forgot to flap and almost fell out of the sky. The old king on top heard the words clearly. This was the ancient voice encoded in its deepest genes, the voice of the beings who once ruled this entire world. The old bird let out a startled squawk, abandoned all its swagger, and launched off its son's back in a panicked glide. Below, the sun was trembling so hard its water bladder nearly released, but it clenched shut at the last second, only leaking a few drops that scattered in the wind. Then both mighty birds, who'd terrorized beast ear girls for generations, pulled the most undignified emergency U-turn I'd ever seen and flapped away into the distance like they'd seen a ghost. They ran away. Sylvie and every beast ear girl stared in disbelief. Creatures that dozens of spear-throwing warriors couldn't drive off, scared away by a single sentence. The entire tribe erupted in cheers, hugging each other with joy. I calmly put the megaphone away and clapped my hands. Keep the music playing, keep the party going. Today, nobody leaves until they're full. The 2 Sky River sparrows fled without looking back. The old king bird was probably still wondering whether to show up next time there was smoke. In the center of the plaza, 5 iron pots a meter across sat on stone stoves with wood burning underneath. This was the first real meal I was making for my new people. Simple approach, giant stew. I stirred the pots with a long ladle. Inside were fist-sized chunks of mystery meat, a few dodo birds that had volunteered, and various huge non-poisonous wild vegetables Sylvie's tribe had gathered from the forest. I dumped in entire bottles and bags of earth hot pot base, 13 spice powder, and soy sauce. Meanwhile, Suyao was lounging on a white-haired, red-eyed fox-ear girl named Bicey, setting up the drone for automated patrol. She configured heat-sensing alerts. Anything bigger than 2 meters entering a 30-kilometer radius would trigger an alarm. Most likely that would mean beastmen coming for revenge. The cooking smell started spreading. I looked around and saw 200 beast-ear girls sitting in neat rows, eyes practically glowing green as they stared at the bubbling meat. Some had drool hanging from their lips. Earth seasonings were hitting them like a starving person suddenly smelling a feast. A rabbit-ear girl couldn't take it anymore and turned away so she wouldn't have to watch. The meat still wasn't done. Whatever Sylvie had brought was tough as leather, still hard after 30 minutes of boiling. But if I made them wait any longer, they might start chewing the pots. Meat needs more time, I announced. But if you're starving, the fields are open. Pick whatever you want, unlimited. The farm's getting cleared tomorrow anyway for base expansion. Better in your stomachs than wasted. The orderly formation of sitting beast-ear girls instantly shattered. 200 screaming figures kicked up a dust storm and charged the farm like a locust swarm. A tiger-ear girl grabbed a corn stalk as thick as my calf, snapped it, and ate the entire thing like sugarcane, stalk, leaves, husks, everything, without peeling a single layer. 2 minutes gone. Not even crumbs left. The tomato field was even worse. Little 2-meter-tall beast-ear girls who couldn't reach the corn went for the basketball-sized tomatoes instead. Red juice exploded everywhere, covering their faces and bodies. The potato field got hit hardest. Bear-ear girls plunged their bare hands into the dirt, flipping up face-sized potatoes without any tools. They wiped the mud off on their clothes and just started crunching through raw potatoes like apples. Suyao stared with her mouth open. Never call me a glutton again. They're the real deal. 60-centimeter corn cobs, 3 per stalk, and our entire acre is gone in 10 minutes. She was right. The lush green farm was now bare dirt. Not a potato skin remained. Every vegetable, fruit, and grain had been devoured. The all-you-can-eat buffet owner, me, was officially bankrupt. Su Li and I exchanged looks. I underestimated their appetite. With 3-meter bodies, superhuman strength, and muscles that burned through energy like reactors, they needed massive fuel. Their stomachs digested everything almost instantly. Thank God for the phase bracelets. Thank God I could still make supply runs to Earth. Then I noticed all 200 pairs of eyes were staring hungrily at the big pots again. Sylvie walked over, tomato juice still on her lip. My lord, those fruits were delicious. Sweet and juicy, but not very filling. Can you still eat more? I asked. Yes, my lord. Right now we're at about 20% full. 20%, 20%. My mouth twitched. Fine. If vegetables won't fill you up, let's bring out the heavy stuff. I stepped back to an open area and connected to the face space. Towers of packaging appeared, boxes of rotisserie chicken and cases of soda stacked higher than a person. I tore open the first box. The food was still warm. Well, Orlun's roast chicken, Su Yao ran over, and even Su Li swallowed hard. They hadn't eaten earth food in ages. I handed a whole golden roast chicken to Sylvie. Try it. Food from the heavens. She took it with trembling hands and bit down. The crispy skin shattered between her teeth, juices mixed with savory sweet seasoning exploding in her mouth. Her cat ears shot straight up and her tail went rigid. She didn't spit out a single bone. Her jaw strength crushed everything. Come get yours. One each. More where that came from. Su Li and Su Yao helped distribute. 200 beast ear girls ate with both hands. 1 bite per drumstick, half a chicken in 2 bites, grease running everywhere. Then came thirst. Su Yao hauled over cases of cola. It's happy water. Twist the cap first. And do not shake it. Sylvie eyed the black liquid suspiciously. Even if it was poison, if her lord gave it, she'd drink it. She took a sip. The bubbles exploded on her tongue. Icy, sweet, fizzy sensation she'd never felt before. Her cat ears vibrated into a blur. This water bites the tongue? She couldn't stop. Guzzled half the bottle. The sugar hit her system fast. Then came the loudest burp I'd ever heard, drowning out all the chewing sounds around us. Her face turned scarlet. Before she could apologize, burps started erupting across the entire crowd like a chain reaction. In a corner, Big One and Little Two had buried themselves in dirt, peeking out with jealous eyes at the beast ear girl's bliss. They were plants. They didn't eat meat, but the happy water looked irresistible. I walked over with an unopened bottle. Jealous? They nodded frantically. I twisted the cap and poured cola over their heads. The sugar and caffeine soaked through their skin and into their flowers. Seconds later, their little red blooms started shaking wildly and their roots flailed around. They looked completely drunk. Then they shot off to the empty fields and started working like maniacs. They're wasted on cola. Amazing. Finally, the big pots of stew were ready. Rich white broth, fragrant and steaming. Even after all the chicken and soda, the beast ear girls still had room. Dozens crowded around each pot, alternating meat and soup, eating like there was no tomorrow. The sunset painted the sky gold and red. For the first time in most of their lives, these beast ear girls had full stomachs, safe ground, and peace. Sylvie stood up, wiped the grease from her mouth, and started singing. An ancient melody called the Song of Moon Shadow, only performed at the most sacred celebrations. Other girls joined in, linking hands around the pots, dancing wild and graceful, ears bouncing to the rhythm, tails tracing arcs in the air. Su Yao dragged me and Su Li into the circle. A few excited little beast ear girls grabbed our hands and pulled us deeper in. My lord, today is the first time I've ever been full. A little rabbit ear girl shouted at me happily. I held Su Li's hand in my left and Su Yao's in my right, laughing under an alien sky. After a while, I slipped away from the dancing. Sylvie had also stepped aside. She was feeding meat soup to wounded beast ear girls who couldn't move and tossing bones to the tethered dinosaurs. I walked over and sat beside her. She tried to stand and bow, but I pressed her shoulder down. You're too tall. Stay seated. Sylvie, if beast ear girls can't reproduce, where did all these hundreds of girls, especially the little ones, come from? Her smile vanished. She lowered her head, voice choking. We traded for them, my lord. Traded? When winter comes, or when beastman tribes run low on food, we take everything our tribe has saved, dried meat, herbs, rare hides, and risk our lives visiting beastman camps to trade. She looked at the sleepy little girls in the distance. In beastman tribes, giving birth to a hairless, fangless child like us is considered a disgrace. We can't do heavy labor or produce offspring for them. So newborn beast ear girls get treated as rejects or emergency food supplies. When food is plentiful, They throw baby beastier girls into the snow to freeze. When food runs short, we become their rations. My chest tightened. Emergency rations. That explained everything. Why they hoarded food so desperately. Why they starved themselves to save every scrap of meat. And you? I asked. After trading away all your food, how do you survive winter? Sylvie gave a bitter smile. That's why we love living underground. When snow seals everything, we crawl deep down, huddle together for warmth, and just sleep. Don't move, don't eat. If it gets really bad, we eat a little bit of a ginseng's body. Still hungry, but enough to hang on. Silence hung for a few seconds. Then my hand moved on its own and caught her swishing tail. She jolted, face burning red. The tail was a sensitive spot. She shyly lowered her head close to me, looking completely surrendered. I just stroked her ears gently, the way you'd pet your own cat. Don't worry about winter anymore. This ice age, I'll make sure every one of you eats hot meat and sleeps in a warm bed. I didn't bother keeping my voice down. Nearby, beastier girls who'd been pretending not to listen froze. Their eyes filled with tears they refused to let fall. For years they'd survived in the cracks between worlds, treated as freaks, as food. Nobody had ever made them a promise like that. In that moment, all their pain turned into tears, and all those tears turned into absolute loyalty. Night fell completely. The giant planet rose, filling 3/4 of the sky. With no underground tunnels ready yet, the beastier girls slept outside tonight. Under my direction, Sylvie had them lay out all their animal hides across the plaza. 200 girls piled together for warmth. Simple conditions, but for most of them, it was the most peaceful sleep of their entire lives. One meal wiped out enough food for the 3 of us to live on for a year or 2. The beastier girls fell asleep in a pile, bellies full, dreaming of better days ahead. Deep in our cave, with 200 free bodyguards sleeping outside, we felt safer than ever. Su Yao flopped onto a beanbag chair we'd grabbed from Earth, hugging a goose pillow. You know, life here isn't that bad. No piano practice, no classes. Just can't scroll videos. She paused. But those girls, they've had it so rough. Suli handed me a thermos of ginseng tea. We feel comfortable because we have food, guns, and backup. Without Lin Bei, those beastier girls wouldn't have survived the first Beastman raid. I took a sip. Don't make me sound noble. I just want us to be comfortable. Like tonight, with them standing guard outside. No worrying about wild animals sneaking in. I squeezed Su Li's warm cheek and ruffled Su Yao's hair. Enough feelings. 2 jobs tonight. What jobs? Su Yao peeked out from behind her pillow. Mysteries to solve. First, that enormous planet above us. What is it? How can a living planet that massive even exist? Second, that black stone tablet in the corner. Time to figure out what it does. We geared up and headed outside. The moonlight was so bright it looked like daytime. At the cave entrance, Sylvie and a white-haired foxier girl named Bicey were standing guard. I jumped up to scratch Sylvie's cat ears, still addictive, then rubbed Bicey's head too. She blushed to her ears, but didn't dare pull away. We set up the telescope in an empty spot. The sky was perfectly clear, which made the alien nightscape both stunning and terrifying. A 6-winged creature with an impossible wingspan glided across the high atmosphere, trailing purple phosphorescent tendrils like ribbons. In the scorched forest, transparent fist-sized organisms drifted up from charred stumps like floating jellyfish, glowing blue-purple. Crystal-backed lizards with luminous tails raced through the ashes chasing glowing bugs. Beautiful and deeply unsettling. We knew almost nothing about this world. I aimed the telescope at the giant planet overhead. Through the lens, blurry landmasses sharpened into detail. Vast blue oceans dominated the surface, with continents covered in dense green vegetation. Like a supersized Earth, full of life. Looks normal except for being huge, Su Yao said, disappointed. All water and trees. No city lights. Prehistoric up there too? Keep looking. I took over and did a systematic sweep. A planet this large existing at all was a massive anomaly. If the high-tech relics on our world came from up there, it couldn't be as primitive as it looked. My hand froze. At the edge of a green continent, something unmistakably artificial appeared. I zoomed to maximum. A colossal plain of black metal or stone stretched across what had to be tens of thousands of square kilometers. At its center stood a black tower piercing straight up into the sky. Jet black, no reflection, like a needle stabbing through the atmosphere. The girls took turns looking. That tower looks like it could puncture the sky, Su Yao whispered. I kept scanning. One tower, two, three. They weren't isolated. Spaced at regular intervals along a specific trajectory, they formed a perfectly straight line across the planet's surface, some kind of array. Then I moved the lens to the one metal plane that faced directly toward us. No tower, just a circular black dot embedded in the metal ground. The clouds around it were pushed aside in a perfect ring by some invisible force. Is it collapsed? Unfinished? I stared at the dark circle for 2 seconds. Then it hit me. That's not flat. That's not a hole. That's the hollow tip of a tower, pointing straight down at us. Ice flooded through me. I straightened up, face pale, staring at the planet above. Lin Bei? What's wrong? Suli looked alarmed. We're being targeted, I whispered. A primal fear gripped me. The feeling of having a planet-killing cannon aimed at your head. It doesn't make sense. The planet rotates and orbits. So why is that tower always pointing directly at us? What do you mean, locked on? Su Yao asked nervously. I forced myself to calm down. Nothing. Just found something big. To test my theory, I shifted the telescope away from the main planet and followed the direction the other towers were pointing, out into deep space. Sure enough, along the line extending from one tower, millions of kilometers away, I found a yellowish planet covered in desert sand. Another tower pointed at a gray rocky planet. Then an ice world. Then a water world. Sand planet. Rock planet. Ice planet. I put the telescope down, palms soaked with sweat. 6 towers on this side meant 6 more on the back. Including our forest planet below, this star system had at least 12 planets with completely different ecosystems. Each one matched to a specific tower on the main planet above. CB, 12 Nursery. Little Fairy's offhand remark from the learning space suddenly echoed in my head. I thought it was just a random number. 12 planets. 12 different biomes. I looked up into the void. No Milky Way. No constellations. Not a single background star anywhere. Just empty black nothing, like an isolated island cut off from the universe. We're probably inside a massive experiment built by an advanced civilization, I told the girls. This is Zone 12, the forest nursery. They stared at each other in shock. Su Yao, ever the optimist, said, well, at least we're lucky. If we'd landed on the water planet or the sand one, we'd be dead already. Su Li's voice was bitter. So we're basically lab rats. Very possibly. I looked toward the cave and the black stone tablet inside. The tablet, the bracelets. They're probably toys or testing tools left for the children by whoever built this place. We went back inside with heavy hearts. I walked up to the tablet and knocked on it. Dense, incredibly hard, unknown material. Old method first. I licked it. 1 minute passed. Nothing. Just my saliva drying on the surface. Embarrassing. Not enough gene purity? I wiped my mouth. Suli suggested blood. I pricked my finger with the dragon fong blade and let a drop fall on the surface. It slid right off without being absorbed. I tried everything. Shouted at it in pioneer language. Open sesame. I'm your father. Initiate self-destruct. Nothing. The thing was a stubborn rock. Then Su Yao, bored from watching, said something brilliant. What if it's just out of battery? It's all dark. No glow, no heat. Maybe it's powered off. I stared at the pitch-black surface. She was right. I'd been assuming it worked like the learning cube, which had never been used before. But this tablet had been operated by beast-ear girls for millions of years. Energy depletion after that long was the most logical explanation. Suli circled the tablet looking for a charging port. Not even a seam. Technology at this level wouldn't use a plug, I said. How does our portal recharge? Fire. Light. Heat radiation. I snapped my fingers. If we can't plug it in, we hit it with raw thermal energy. Worth a try. We stacked over a dozen boxes of high-energy solid alcohol fuel around the base. Each blue block could boil a pot of water, and we had plenty more in storage. Everyone back? What if it explodes? Su Yao worried from behind cover. The beast-ear girls won't have anything to worship. I took photos. If it blows up, I'll have your mom make a bootleg copy back on Earth. I lit a block and tossed it in. Blue flames erupted, stable, smokeless, intensely hot. The firewall wrapped around the black tablet. Scorching heat waves rolled through the sealed cave, distorting the air. Then something incredible happened. The moment the flames touched the tablet's surface, they stopped spreading outward. Instead, they were pulled inward, sucked directly into the stone like a sponge drinking water. "It's working," I shouted to the girls. "It's eating the fire." Same as the portal charging, 5 minutes of burning. Just as the fuel ran out, and we were about to add more. "Look," Su Yao screamed. Pure white light was seeping out from inside the tablet, growing brighter until it lit the entire cave. Complex patterns on the surface began flowing and shifting. Then a massive holographic interface materialized in midair. The text was in Pioneer language, which all three of us could now read. Thermal energy injection detected. Energy conversion, 0.0015% terminal rebooting. The cave filled with blinding white light. The stone tablet had come alive after who knows how many millions of years of silence. Su Yao tried filming it, but her phone screen stayed black. This holographic projection worked on some principle beyond normal optics, probably beaming directly into our retinas like the portal. Earth technology couldn't capture it. Forget the phone. Su Li, paper and pen. Now, Su Li pulled out writing supplies from her ring and sat cross-legged, ready to record everything. The thermal charging efficiency was pathetically low, 0.0015%. No wonder Sylvie had been sunbathing this thing at cave entrances for years without results, blaming her tribe's insufficient devotion. When I stepped within 3 meters, my phase ring heated up. A white beam scanned me. Identity confirmed, first-class citizen. Attempting connection to Pioneer Universal Network. My heart raced. If I could contact the actual Pioneer civilization, I'd go from castaway to galactic royalty overnight. Request a starship, summon some psychic warriors, crush the beast men. 3 seconds later, network connection failed. CB Sector Control Center, no response. Coordinate upload failed. Error 404. Parent node offline or destroyed. Cold water on my fantasies. The civilization that built all this was either extinct or gone somewhere even their own technology couldn't reach. No cavalry coming. But then the screen turned green. Local protocol activated. Due to network loss, emergency powers granted. Citizen promoted to CB 12 Ecological Zone. Temporary Administrator. Unlocking local database. Administrator. Temporary, but still the highest authority. The holographic interface exploded into 1,000,000 points of starlight, then reformed into a massive star map filling our entire cave. Su Yao was speechless, staring up like she was floating in space. Su Li started drawing. Focus on the structure. The outermost layer showed 3 suns. 2 golden ones orbiting each other like twins, plus a massive blue giant hovering at a gravitational balance point. 3 stars forming a trinary system, orbiting inward around the planets. "That's backwards," I blurted out. "Stars orbiting planets? What universe does that?" Zooming in past the suns, 12 identically sized planets sat on the middle orbital ring like beads on a string. Red ones, ice-covered ones, desert worlds, ocean worlds, each completely different. At the center of it all hung the impossibly huge main planet, not a gas giant, but a solid world with oceans and continents, hundreds of times larger than all 12 satellites combined. The same blue-green monster that filled our sky every night. 12. There really are 12. Su Yao pointed at the display, jaw dropped. "Hey, that one has my face on it." My profile photo marked our position. I tapped it, and the view shifted to a detailed surface map of our forest planet. Mountains, jungles, everything rendered in holographic detail. It zoomed to a half-moon-shaped burned scar, my wildfire, with a glowing icon at its center marking our cave. "God's eye view," I whispered. With this, we'd never get lost again, and we could locate water sources and mineral deposits easily. Then I noticed a tab labeled Subject Monitoring. I tapped it. An invisible wave pulsed outward from the tablet, sweeping across the entire planet. The map transformed. Black dots covered the globe like mold, billions of them, especially thick around the equatorial forests. Scattered among the black ocean were rare golden specks. Black is beast men, gold is beastier girls, Su Li figured out. The gold cluster at our cave entrance was Sylvie's tribe. Statistics appeared. Subject, Wolk, 91. Failed experiment/mixed genetics. Current population, 1,545,892,103. Increasing. Assessment, 91st generation hybrid. Extreme fertility. Gene locks removed. Low social structure. High aggression. 1.5 billion. My voice cracked. 1,500 million beastmen. Enough for every person in China to take one home. We were competing for territory against an entire nation-scale violent species. Even if each one just spat at us once, we'd drown. Next line. Subject. Sequence. 12. Perfect genetics/atavistic form. Current population. 10,054,231 assessment. Unable to evaluate. Beastier girls. Only 10 million. The number kept flickering, up by a dozen, down by a dozen, lives being born and lost in real time. I reached to tap for more detailed Beastman distribution data. The moment my finger touched the projection, the statistics vanished and a massive warning popped up. Warning: Environmental Regulation System entering low-power maintenance mode. Reminder: Dear first-class citizen, please dress warmly. Dress warmly. Before I could react, a new animation appeared. In the outer orbit, two of the three suns, the Golden Twins, suddenly broke away from their paths and began flying toward deep space, accelerating, their light growing dimmer and more distant. Only the blue giant remained, orbiting alone. Text appeared: Stellar Energy Cores, codename, Golden Crow, 1, Golden Crow, 2, approaching fuel depletion. Executing automatic return protocol, proceeding to Sector Energy Station for recharging. Estimated absence: 365 planetary days. During this period, all ecological zones will receive minimum illumination from Spirit Source, Blue Giant, only. Surface temperature forecast: -60 degrees Celsius to -80 degrees Celsius. The suns were leaving to recharge. For an entire year. And we'd be left with temperatures that could freeze steel. Seeing those numbers, everything clicked. The White Death, the Great Ice Age. It wasn't natural seasons or planetary orbit. The truth was absurdly simple. The two artificial suns were running out of fuel and going home to recharge. They used stars as rechargeable batteries? I couldn't believe what I was seeing. What level of civilization treats suns like power banks? Suli dropped her pen. Artificial suns. What kind of beings could build that? I stared at the countdown. 34 days until they left. -80 degrees Celsius. Colder than Antarctica. No farming, no going outside. I couldn't imagine how the beast men on this planet survived it wearing nothing but animal hides. We had 34 days to haul enough supplies through the portal, grow as much food as possible, and turn our cave into a fortress that could withstand extreme cold. I was about to start planning when the hologram began flickering violently. Red warnings flooded the screen. Warning: energy depleted. Terminal entering forced hibernation. Wait, I'm not done. I still needed the detailed Beastman distribution maps. But dead was dead. With a soft pop, the star maps, the terrifying population numbers, the planetary data, all dissolved into fading light. The tablet went dark and cold again. Gone already? Suyao blinked. That was fast, I sighed. Tomorrow we'll drag it outside and burn fuel around it all day. See if we can get a longer session. Knowing the exact timeline actually helped. Fear comes from the unknown. Now we had a clear deadline, 34 days. So we prepare. I clapped my hands and broke the heavy mood. No more big topics tonight. We smell like hot pot. Priority 1. Wash up and get a good sleep. Yes. I want to smell nice. Suyao dove into the ring's storage space and started pulling out treasures like opening blind boxes. Japanese shampoo and body wash. Cherry blossom scented. Pure cotton towels and bath towels. Cotton pajamas from the clothing section. She handed Suli a set with cartoon characters on it. Suli took one look and refused. Too childish. Doesn't match my image. It's cute though, and the fabric is so soft. No. Plain color. Not pink. I watched them bicker over sleepwear and couldn't help smiling. This was what life should feel like. Arguing about pajamas even on an alien planet. Suli won. She got a simple lavender set. I grabbed myself a pair of loose shorts. We gathered everything into the bracelet and headed down the winding tunnel toward the underground river, flashlights in hand. The deeper we went, the warmer and more humid the air became. Around the last bend, a massive underground cavern opened up. A wide, dark river flowed quietly, thick white mist hovering over the surface like a fairy tale. We found a natural cove with calm water and a sandy bottom, a perfect natural bath. I wedged the flashlight into a rock crack, angling it so the light bounced softly off the walls. Not too bright, just enough to create a warm glow. The girls were still a little shy despite everything we'd shared. Su Li turned away to undress, keeping her innermost layer on, then slipped quickly into the water until it covered her up to her neck. Only then did she turn around, face red as an apple. Su Yao was bolder, stripped down to the same level and cannonballed in, splashing her sister. Come on in. The water's amazing. I stepped in wearing my shorts and sank down slowly. Nearly 50 degrees. Every pore opened up. Pure bliss. Su Li floated behind me and started kneading my shoulders. Her soft body pressed inevitably against my back as she worked. Is what the tablet showed really that serious? She whispered in my ear. Yeah, negative 80 degrees. Normal creatures can't survive that. That's why the beast men hoard food so desperately. I pulled her hands forward and drew her into my arms. But the good news is we know the exact timing now. 34 days. And this underground river is almost hot, meaning there's strong geothermal activity deep below. Worst case, we can hide down here for a year. She relaxed against me. Splash. A wall of water hit us both in the face. Hey, sis, you're practically sitting in his lap. Su Yao's face was pink as she splashed from a few meters away. You little ambusher. I wiped my face and fired back a massive handful of water. Help! Help! The heavy topics dissolved into laughter and splashing. 3 people chasing each other through warm underground water, voices echoing off ancient stone. Gradually, the playing changed into something else entirely. Much later, after a bath that somehow left us more tired than before, we decided to just sleep down by the underground river. Our bodies were warm and relaxed, and nobody wanted to climb back up. I looked at our old sleeping platform with its crude leaf-in wood bed and decided I'd had enough. Trash it. We have space storage now. Only a dog would sleep on this. We cleared everything away and I summoned 2 30-centimeter thick mattresses from the bracelet, pushed them together into one megabed big enough for 5 or 6 people to roll around on. Su Yao dove on immediately, moaning with happiness. Su Li pulled out fresh down quilts, cotton sheets, and big pillows from her ring. They set it all up like they were decorating a honeymoon suite. Lights off, we crawled in. Su Yao wriggled around until she found the warmest spot against me. This is so nice, she murmured, then added quietly. But what about Sylvie and the others outside? Our cave entrance is too small. They can't even fit through. When winter comes, will some of them freeze? I pulled her tighter. Don't worry. They've survived winters before, and now they have us helping them. That settled her mind. Then the temperature under the covers started rising as 3 bodies pressed together. Next morning, I overslept. Slept deep and hard. My back was a little sore, but I felt incredible energy buzzing through me. I looked at the 2 sleeping faces beside me, both content and satisfied. Su Li had a faint smile like she was having a good dream. Get up. The suns are high. Su Li woke groggily, the blanket sliding to reveal pale skin and collarbones. Su Yao was dead to the world, couldn't be shaken awake. Little lazy pig. I rolled her up in the quilt like a burrito, hoisted her onto my shoulder, and carried her up. When we pushed the boulder aside and crawled outside, I was surprised. The beastier girls were already hard at work. All 200 of them, silently clearing rocks under Sylvie's command, placing every stone down gently so they wouldn't make noise and disturb us. When they saw us, everyone stopped and bowed in perfect unison. Sylvie, she dropped her rock and covered the distance in a few graceful leaps. Her golden eyes landed on my neck, and her expression became incredibly complicated: reverence, emotion, and a touch of heartache. Both sides of my neck were covered in marks from last night, left by Su Li and Su Yao during their enthusiastic 5-in-a-row game. But innocent Sylvie interpreted it very differently. Her voice choked up. My lord, you work too hard. To protect worthless servants like us, you must have performed some life-draining sacred ritual last night to summon heavenly food. Please don't sacrifice your life force for us. We're not worth it. I touched my neck, glanced at Su Li, whose face had turned baboon red, and roughly guessed what this cat had imagined. Ahem. It's nothing. Just serving the people. Quick subject change. Are you all hungry? Sylvie straightened up and patted her flat stomach seriously. No, my lord. Yesterday's feast was so generous that none of us need to eat for at least half a month. Half a month? That won't do. You've got heavy labor today. No food means no energy. Go set up the pots. Everyone gets a bucket of porridge to warm their stomachs. Yes, my lord. She thought it was wasteful, but the Lord's word was divine law. Soon, cooking smoke rose again. Right on cue, a familiar bird cry echoed from the sky. The Sky River sparrow had come. It took one look at the fire, confirmed it wasn't threatening the forest, and quietly turned around and flew away without a word. Smart bird. I nodded with approval.